Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Welcome to 4Player Podcast. This is episode 571. My name is Nick Henderson. I'm joined today by Brad Simons.
Yow.
Nolan Hedstrom.
How's it going, everybody?
And Christopher Guthridge.
Hello.
Hello. Of course, this is our weekly video game podcast we do here at 4playernetwork.com. We have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. We'll be talking about Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Dragon Quest XI, The Messenger, Frostpunk. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Of course, before we do that, a little bit of housekeeping. I do want to remind everybody, if you listen to the show, or if you want to be a more active part of the community, we have a community Discord that we would love you to be a part of. Head on over to discord.gg/4player if you want to join that. It's free, and it's a great way to keep in touch with all of us here. Also, we're going to be reading questions from our supporters on Patreon later. We are making some changes to our Patreon campaign, which I was hoping to have ready for tonight, but I actually don't have them quite ready to go yet, so that'll probably be next week. But if you're interested in supporting us on Patreon, head on over to patreon.com/4player. If you throw as little as $1 towards us a month, it helps us out tremendously, and it gives you some opportunities to get more involved with the show and get some extra perks and stuff like that. So check that out. Before I get into how's everybody doing tonight?
Shitty.
Shitty? Why?
Move on.
Oh.
I don't want to talk about it.
It has been very rainy in Austin.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
which has been great.
It's great when it happens on the weekend because it's kind of like reinforces my decision that I'm going to stay inside and play lots of video games.
How did that go? How did your weekend go?
Oh, it was fantastic.
In separate rooms.
That was the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's
Did y'all order pizza and like y'all each came out and grabbed a slice and went back?
It wasn't pizza, but we did use Uber Eats to.
It's like an episode
to
of
bring us
Friends
food
or something.
No, it was great. She is farther than I am in Tomb Raider. So, and that's what she's doing right now.
Do you think it's because she's a woman?
Yeah, this is like her favorite game in the series.
And
But no,
Play
it's not
as a woman, so she has a better understanding of the character. It makes sense.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes perfect sense. Anyways, we'll talk about Shadow of the Tomb Raider here shortly, because we do definitely have some thoughts on that. I do also want to plug our Spider-Man spoiler cast, which is now available to download for everybody out there. Crispy and I had a nice hour-long conversation about Spider-Man.
Hope y'all had fun.
Were not available.
How did that go?
I was having an anniversary dinner with my wife.
Yeah, so...
Eating unlimited sushi.
Oh, shit. Where'd you get that?
Sushi Junai? It's not too
I feel
far.
I feel like I've been there.
Yeah.
Have y'all been to that conveyor belt sushi place on off Airport, Lamar?
I heard there's like one conveyor belt sushi place in Austin, and I heard it's not great.
That's a new one, I think.
No, there's two.
No, there's
Ooh.
one that I been to a couple times now, where after so many plates they give you like a little
balls.
Pop-O-Matic, like Pop-O-Matic. No,
like a gotcha thing?
yeah, a gotcha
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It automatically comes out. There's like a machine and a
That's
video
cool.
plays.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I think my mic might be
No,
cutting
that
out.
place is actually okay.
Is that by fucking Mueller?
No.
Like-
It's Airport and Lamar near them.
I don't know, but I wish I could have been on the podcast with you.
I know. I asked you, and you were
yeah.
like, "I'm gonna have an anniversary dinner with my wife."
You know that super weeb like bookstore or like it's kind of like
Barnes and Noble.
No, but it
If
has
it's not a
like
Barnes
all
and
like
Noble, the answer is
Japanese
no.
stuff.
No.
Half
That's a
price
place?
books.
It's right next to it. It's cool. It's a cool place to go to right after. It's like weeb Barnes and Noble.
Weeb Barnes.
Yeah, they had like a quarter of the store is dedicated to like Miyazaki stuff.
Anyways, that was a longhand way of me saying, check out our spoiler cast for Spider-Man, which is now available on all podcast services. You can find it at 4playernetwork.com and all that jazz. Sorry you couldn't be on it, Nolan. You were there in spirit.
Can I ask Crispy? Since you had finished Spider-Man, no spoilers, of course, but did you get a little teary-eyed at the end?
No. No.
I did.
That ending was stupid.
Wait,
Ooh.
what?
No, I'm joking.
Oh, I'm about to say, that does not mirror at all what
Yeah.
you talked
You didn't
about,
answer
Crispy.
my question.
Of course I did.
I did
course
too. I did too.
Of course I did. What do you think I am? Some kind of monster?
I mean, sometimes I have
No,
that thought.
but I did too, and
Yeah.
I care little about Spider-Man or video game stories in general, but even it had an effect on
It
me.
was fucking.
It's a great
It was
game, and
rough.
it's there's a lot to talk
Or
about.
even it had an effect on me. That was the wrong.
Okay, whatever.
Anyways, check out our spoiler cast for Spider-Man. It's available now. It's up on 4playnetwork.com. It's on all the podcast services you can think of, including Spotify. We are on Spotify now. Check that out. I want to, of course, start by reading some feedback from last week's episode. We had a lot of great discussions last week. We talked about Spider-Man. We talked about Judge Eyes. Talked about Suikoden 2 a little bit there as well. So I want to read some feedback from last week. Again, if you are listening to the show and you have any thoughts about anything we talk about tonight and you want to make your voice heard about it, drop by 4playernetwork.com, leave a comment on the post for this episode, and we will read it at the start of the next show. Our first comment comes from Grab a Beer. Again, he was our first commenter last week. He's the dog groomer. He said, dog groomer from last week here. The dogs don't mind the podcast much, though my coworkers question my taste in everything when I randomly burst out laughing, then have to explain that the podcast I'm listening to is discussing various thought-provoking topics, including poop knives and wiping preferences.
Squirrel!
We have had both of those conversations.
I don't think that's how it works, Brad. I don't think when dogs hear the word squirrel.
That's not fucking true. I have seen a handful of dogs that when they hear the word squirrel, they freak out.
Okay.
I believe you, Brad. He goes on to say, I must have been daydreaming during the anal gland expression video, which is what Nolan asked me about last week. It's as routine to me as you guys turning on your microphones. Interesting. Thank you very much for the comment. Grab a beer. Oh man, Uranium Bullet is also. This is a long comment, but it's his first time writing in, so I'm gonna read it. He says, hey guys, just want to say thank you for the years of entertainment. I've been watching the feed since the Justin TV days. Took a long hiatus, and now the Spotify podcast uploads have brought me back.
Nice.
I've been on a hardcore 4PP nostalgia trip as a result and have stopped listening to Kind of Funny Games Daily entirely.
Fuck them.
Oh, that's a great show. But hey, that's very, very touching. You guys are far more genuine and entertaining. Oh, thank you. I also still have the first official 4PP t-shirt in my closet with Brad, Nick, Travis, and David sitting on the couch. Not gonna lie, wore that bad boy to high school back in the day before I graduated in 2011. You know what's
I think the first one, though, was the thumbs up bear.
Yeah,
Do a bear
the
roll
first one was
bear.
a thumbs up bear. But like that was the first one where we were like, oh my god, this looks like legit. I think.
The Do a Barrel Bear one is pretty crappy looking.
Yeah, the thing is that the shirt he's describing, I remember giving we trusted Travis to go get those printed, like screen printed, and he came back and like half of them were like
fucked up.
Fucked up. I had until recently I had one of the fucked up ones in my closet. I don't think I have it anymore. But yeah. Thank you for the very nice comment. He goes on to say, I'm listening during my commutes and 12-hour night shifts at the factory I work at. Jesus Christ, Butters agrees. You all make my work nights less stressful and go by super fast, so thanks for that as well. I was never active in the community back in the day, but with this post, I hope to change that. We really hope you do as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
P.S. Super stoked for the Cyberpunk discussion cast coming up. We still need to do that. I haven't been this hyped for a game in a long time, and it's a game that sounds almost too good to be true with the proposed scale, depth, and detail, but it is CD Projekt Red, so that kind of eases my worries. Have a great show. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Really appreciate the long, thoughtful comment. Necrotechno follows that up with a very short comment. He says Viggo Mortensen should have been cast as Geralt. Who didn't somebody else say Viggo? It was Brad.
It's been mentioned before.
Viggo Mortensen.
He would have been a good choice.
Yeah.
It's just so strange. It's like I'm trying to think of another example of like a character we're all familiar with, and then someone being cast, and immediately like the obvious one I think is the first time everyone heard Heath Ledger was being cast as the Joker, and we were like, what? And it wasn't until we saw him on screen that we were like, okay, I fucking get it now. Yeah. I'm hoping that this is kind of like that.
I saw some pictures of
kills himself.
No, damn it, Nolan.
I saw some pictures of the new Joker.
I mean, not intentionally. God damn it. This is getting dark. I'm sorry. Continue.
I saw some pictures of the new Joker, and I'm not so sure.
Wait, who's the new Joker?
Joaquin Phoenix.
What? I didn't know about this.
Yeah, they're making DC is making a Joker standalone
They also
film.
dropped Henry Cavill.
I didn't know about this.
Yeah, and there's already set pictures of him, but he's not like in makeup or anything. He's just like the guy who's eventually going to become the Joker.
Smiling.
Yeah.
I'm not too sold on either, but I do like Joaquin Phoenix, so who knows? Fuzzy Turd says, I enjoyed Nick's old-fashioned cynicism regarding the inevitability of an autopilot world that is a mere decade or two away from being as commonplace as Brad's rants against the big game company's tendency to cater toward the younger mainstream consumer. I see where he's going with that. I'd love more disagreement like that. It's always a great laugh to hear you guys have silly discussions that stem from almost entirely unrelated topics. Keep up the great content. P.S. I am used to Brad being the grumpy old man, quote-unquote. Nick taking over that role is refreshing. Not that Grumpy Brad is stale. I didn't realize I was being an old fuddy-duddy.
Well, first
I
of
just
all,
don't
you
want to
said
trust
fuddy-duddy.
machines to fly me through the air at 35,000 feet.
Dude, I
is
don't want
that
to
so
trust
weird?
fucking people to do that.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just stop
You know
flying.
who people are, Nick? You know who people are?
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer was a people. Hitler was a people.
That's accurate.
Mussolini was a people.
You know, I listened to the audio.
Yeah.
As far as like plane related.
Oh, God, you talking about the guy that stole the...
No.
Okay,
What?
never mind.
I don't even know how I got linked to
I
this,
was
but
feeling fucked up
I
today,
just
too.
clicked a link and it was the audio of a what happened was what the fuck, Nolan? What can I possibly say? That is making you cringe.
You said some stuff before the show.
No, this is
Get
not
it out.
weird.
What's going on?
Why won't you say words, Brad? This is a podcast.
You're reacting. It was the audio of a student who took off. It was like a solo flight, like her first solo flight, maybe not her first. But as soon as she took off, like the main wheel fell off the plane.
You don't need wheels when you're flying.
But to land, Nolan, to land, you need
That's
fucking
true,
wheels on your
Nolan.
plane.
I didn't think about that,
Forever,
Nolan.
That'll never be a problem.
Like the main front wheel like fell off the plane, and it was the conversation
live in a plane now.
of the people in the tower going telling the 17-year-old girl who just did her like first solo flight or whatever that her wheel just fell off, and then they bring in her like coach or her instructor, and the way they talk her through it, and she's like freaking out at first or just like really scared and like thinking she's gonna die, that kind of thing. But like they kept her calm, and like it was like a great landing, and it's just like those plane people, they really know what they're doing.
they do.
They're not
Yeah.
very
I
plain.
mean,
That's why they all have heart attacks by 60.
Did she
They could talk a student into
did she
landing
land
with
it
no wheel.
with a wheelie and just like slow down with
Yeah,
the
and
nose
then
still
you-
up? Or?
No, it was just the audio. I didn't even see the landing.
There's-
I don't
there's-
even think it was filmed.
there's
they
lots
told
of...
her what to do. I wasn't sure if they told her, oh, when you land.
No,
you
they're
do
basically
this.
saying, just treat this like you were landing with a wheel.
Yeah.
And you
Because
hear
there's
And-
nothing else you can
Yeah,
do.
that's basically it. There's nothing else you could do. They were just trying to keep her calm.
I mean,
hear
I'm sure
someone
it
in the
also
background,
there
like-
is probably a change to when you start to like try
Yeah.
and slow down the plane and that kind of
someone in the background's like, bail.
There are
Change of
there's like
spare.
really interesting videos out there of like pilots having to land like commercial airliners where like a wheel fell off. No, it was the plane where the wheel what was it?
Oh, it turned sideways.
The wheel
and they
turned
had to,
sideways
like,
and it couldn't get it back, so they had to land with the front wheel facing, perpendicular to the
drifted.
plane, and like they had to land as soon as it touches the ground, just like fucking sparks everywhere,
Yeah.
but like landed it perfectly fine.
Have you ever seen that video of the two dudes in the Cessna where it's like the one guy takes his buddy up and they're sitting like front to back, right? So the pilot's in front and the dude's
Yeah.
sitting behind him. And he gets up there and then his buddy just pretends that he like passes out and like leans on the stick and pushes it like straight down. So the fucking plane is going down. All you can see in the windows is just the green of the ground. And the dude's in the back going, hey, ah! And he like braces himself and is just screaming for a minute. And then the guy's like, no, I'm just kidding, and pulls it up. Like,
I like how his first instinct was to just brace himself instead of like try and take fucking control of the plane.
it is amazing.
Wow.
Oh my god, this has been great conversation. I can't wait to fly again. We have one more comment from the middle button. He says, I know generally you guys don't get into the politics of the gaming industry, but in respect to the Siri casting call, they specifically asked for a BAME, and I looked this up.
I thought we brought this up in news.
We did.
Oh.
But he's saying we were trying to avoid the more political
Did he
side
mean
of it.
Babe?
No, BAME, and it's
Black, Asian.
it's or
it means
minority
not,
ethnic or something
yeah,
like.
it means not white.
Yeah, they basically specifically put a casting call out there for someone who was not white, which is the way the character was originally written. Whatever. He says, it gives the impression that they have an agenda behind the casting, which I think most people have issue with. I don't care either way. If it has a good story and acting, I'm in.
There's been another development, though. I believe that now they're saying that they're looking for specifically a white girl to play Siri. But before they didn't say Siri. Now they are saying Siri. So they're either... But it was so strongly suggested that it was Siri when they didn't say it was specifically for the role of Siri. That's why everyone assumed it was Siri. But...
I feel like this wouldn't have even been an issue. They would have immediately said, "No, it's not Siri. Stop freaking out." Like, but
it might have actually been Siri.
No, what I'm saying is, like, when this whole thing happened, the casting director was getting slammed with like death threats, and she left social media.
Oh, wow.
Why wouldn't she have just said, "Calm down. It's not a casting call for Siri." Instead, she was literally bullied into getting off of social media.
Well, because it might have actually been Siri, and they may have changed their mind. Because some people are saying that they're just sort of backpedaling or backtracking.
I mean, we do try to avoid these conversations specifically because, political conversations can really
But here's the thing.
suck. But at the same time, like... Come on.
This idea of, like, oh, they have an agenda, and I think that's what people are, like, okay.
I mean, everyone has an agenda.
What if they do?
Yeah.
What if they fucking do?
So
and why does that automatically preclude the idea that they could get an actor who could perform the role very well and tell a good story?
Yeah, so their agenda is to...
Why are those diametrically opposed?
Their agenda
they're
is...
trying to hire more women and people of color as their agenda?
Yeah,
that sounds real fucking sinister.
Yeah, it sounds like...
I don't care
an
what
agenda I'd be okay with.
like race or color, but I think Bane would make a weird Siri. Hello, girl. Would you like to go on
Okay,
a
Nolan.
quest?
Oh, God.
No, that was a stretch upon a
No,
stretch.
I fucking heard Bane earlier. I was confused.
Take it easy, Mr. Fantastic.
BAME.
That was a stretch.
B-A-M... B-A-M-E is the
Bane,
term.
yeah.
BAME. I'm sorry. I see what you were going with, Nolan. God, Nolan needs to have a kid so he can, like, tell these terrible
I
dad
just
jokes.
tell jokes that butters all day.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
The nice
All right.
thing is Butters won't learn how to tell them back.
So anyways, thank you guys so much for your comments. We do always really appreciate them. Like I said, if you want to comment on anything tonight, leave us a comment at 4playnetwork.com. We'll get to it next week. It also enters you in our monthly game giveaway. And we'll be drawing a new winner for the month of September. And I'll be announcing it next week because that's the last show of the month. So where do we start, guys? Can we start with Tomb Raider, Brad? Would you like to start with Tomb Raider?
Why are you asking me?
I don't know. We have a lot of games to talk about.
You're the host, man. You want to start with Tomb Raider? Let's start with Tomb Raider.
Let's fucking start with Tomb Raider.
Okay.
First of all...
Well, then I'm going to tag out with Chris because he actually played this game.
Oh.
And I don't give a shit about it.
So evil. All right. We're going to talk about Shadow of the
I was
Tomb
not
Raider.
anticipating this.
Yeah,
I know.
me
It's
neither.
just... Crispy really wants to take a nap. That's what's happening here.
Hey, Chris Davis,
Hello?
what is your history with Tomb Raider?
Legend, Angel of Darkness, and this new trilogy.
You didn't say you didn't
Oh,
play
really?
Underworld?
That's it? Anniversary, Underworld?
I didn't get to play Anniversary or
You
Underworld.
played...
I played a little bit of Underworld, I think.
You played fucking Angel of Darkness back when it came out?
Yeah.
Wait, did you finish Angel of
Oh
Darkness?
fuck no!
No one
Because
nobody
finishes
finishes
that
that
I
game.
couldn't get
Sucks.
through the fucking first 30 minutes of that game.
No, it's bad.
That was a game with a great trailer showing it off, and then the actual product it was shit.
The real tragedy of Angel of Darkness was actually the controls. And this is coming from, classic Tomb Raider, which has a very,
convoluted.
or, very divisive control scheme.
Yeah.
Everyone thought when Angel of Darkness came out that, what the
What was
fuck
wrong
were
with
they
the
doing?
controls? I didn't
It
play
was
Angel of
just
Darkness.
it was just a disaster. It was sluggish. She couldn't do things that she could do before. It was just
It was a
she
step
could-
backward
She
in almost every
controlled
way.
like
Yeah.
shit.
The detection for latching onto objects was very, very narrow.
It's real bad.
It was
It was
and
enough
There
that,
was an input lag that was also really bad.
Within
was
the
so
intro
bad.
section of the game, I was like, this doesn't feel good at all. I can't do this.
I played the first two levels and I was like, I'm fucking.
But we're not here to talk about Angel of
Yeah,
Darkness. We're
no.
here to talk about Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This is the concluding chapter in this new trilogy of Tomb Raider, which is it's weird because they did the first game and it was like, this is the origin story of Lara Croft, right? Which was okay. It was a very different kind of experience, I suppose. It wasn't necessarily what some of us wanted from a Tomb Raider game, but it had its own good qualities, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then as it went on, it was kind of it kind of still felt like an origin story, and now they're calling this one like the concluding chapter,
Which is such horse shit.
It is
right?
horse shit because
it just means they didn't know where to go with it, and they still wanted her to have a bow and be survivally.
one thing. But what I don't understand is why they're framing this the way they are, and we'll talk about it in terms. I'm talking about it,
You know what's
in multiple ways, but for most of like. At its base level, they're talking about this being like the concluding chapter of her origin story, but I'm confused as to where the line is between it being an origin story and it actually being Lara Croft doing her thing. Because
it's all fucking retconning because the first one was the conclusion to her origin story.
Yeah,
the coolest moment of the series was the end of that game.
That was the
when she grabs the pistol that the bad dude was using in the final boss fight, and then has
now
her
she's
dual
Tomb Raider.
pistols.
So now she's Tomb Raider, and then the origin's done, and you go on.
And then all of a sudden they announced Rise of the Tomb Raider, and we were like, whoa, she already rose. What is going on? And then it was like the same shit. And then they did another one where it's now the conclusion of this one that...
The weird thing is
it's like Planet of the Tomb Raiders, Rise of the Tomb Raiders, Dawn of the Tomb Raiders,
like,
No, it's not. It's like Planet 3 times in a row.
Okay, but let's talk about specifically this game, right? Because it's been kind of a rocky. To be honest, personally, like while I enjoyed Rise of the Tomb Raider,
New development,
it was more or less forgettable for me. It didn't feel very substantial. It didn't feel nearly as interesting.
Which is not the general consensus, right? Because Rise has probably got the best reviews out of all of them.
I mean, honestly, I do think it's probably a better game than the original Tomb Raider. I just realized very quickly after I played the original Tomb Raider that I wanted them to go from that to something I was more familiar with, because that's what I thought they were building to.
Sure.
And they didn't. It just kind of felt like more of the original Tomb Raider from a mechanical standpoint and everything.
Yeah,
and
I really did. And I agree with you. I thought that last one was kind of forgettable as well.
Also, I've mentioned this before, I'm not a huge fan of like ice environments, and that whole game is like fucking ice environments. That doesn't really play a big role in how I felt about it.
I can just imagine you in a drive-through. No ice. no ice at all.
Yeah, that's me. You know,
Texas.
But this game has taken an interesting
new studio
turn. Well, this is WB Montreal, right? This is the same studio that did Batman: Arkham Origins, isn't it?
No.
It's Eidos Montreal.
Eidos Montreal. Okay.
They did the
Eidos
last
Montreal.
two.
Yeah,
This is the Deus Ex guys.
That's right. That's what I was thinking. I was getting confused. My bad.
Yeah. Well, that's a very different studio.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just getting confused. So yeah,
all Canadian studios are the same to Nick.
That's they're all in Montreal. So yeah, this is
and Quebec and Toronto too.
This is not the same. This is not. I mean, Crystal Dynamics is involved with this project, but not to the same extent. And this is, and I think ultimately this game ends up feeling like a pretty big shift for the series so far. I think it still at its core has like the stuff you know that you've kind of come to be familiar with since the reboot, like in terms of like how the action works, how like the climbing works and the combat and everything. But like they've made a lot of changes to the way this game is structured and paced, and I think pacing is probably the biggest.
How is the pacing different?
Like, and I've said this a few times on Twitter over the course of the week. I am shocked. I've played this about 14 hours so far. Mm-hmm. I am shocked at how little combat there is in this game, which is bizarre.
Very strange.
It's bizarre. If you look at any marketing for this game at all, it is all just like her like skulking through the shadows, stabbing dudes.
The initial
shooting.
marketing,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's because the new stealth mechanics, and it is very more stealth focused. The combat is one of the new things about the game in terms of like mechanics and systems and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
So I think the focus on the new kind of made people think that it was going to be all about it. And I was initially really turned off by this game because of that initial, like those first couple of trailers where she was the predator.
Look like Rambo. Like she's like putting like mud on her face and like hiding.
That's actually Predator.
I mean, it happens in both. Let's be fair. But like that's very much the kind of game they're painting here. But in fact, I've spent so much time in this game.
What the fuck, Nick?
Why would you shoot an orangutan?
That was
They're
a
howler monkey.
That was a howler monkey.
It's a howler monkey.
Yeah, definitely
Nolan.
shoot a howler monkey.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
You clarifying what species it was doesn't make it any less fucked up.
But like that, so I have spent so much time in this game wandering around these like fairly open environments, like looking for things to climb on, looking for tombs and crypts to explore, hunting animals, that kind of thing, and very little very little amount of time I've spent actually like killing dudes,
So
hiding bodies
think
and stuff.
It seems like the majority of that killing dudes thing is all linear stories.
Yeah,
Which
it's all during linear story
sounds-
stuff. I've never come across a like random assortment of dudes that I have to kill.
I'm probably
Story
like an hour and a
sequences.
half past you right now.
Yeah.
And there is another combat sequence, but it's like
Yeah, and like
it's
I-
over.
not just a sequence, but you run into an enemy type
Yeah.
that does start to appear like in Tomb specifically. That I've
Well, I
noticed.
think I may know what you're talking about because I think I did that last night.
So it seems it's weird. It's weird. I'm having some problems with this game, and I think it does have to do with maybe a lack of combat. Not because I want to do more combat, but it has a little bit to do with like the skill system and the loot system and like the rewards you get for
They're
all
all
the
combat-focused
exploration
rewards.
is well the skill tree I think is a disaster. I think it like there's so little actually like compelling skills on the skill tree. You have one that's all combat focused, which seems pointless, like including all the weapon upgrades, which is a separate thing, which seems
but it
pointless
feels like-
because there's so little combat.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't even really seem like it has that much of an effect. Like the stuff you get is not even that exciting. Then you have another third of the skill tree, which is all about like
Using your sense or her
using the senses,
Survival sense or whatever.
survival
Yeah.
senses in the environment, which I'm not even using.
yeah no
And so there's 2/3 of the skill tree I don't even care about, and then the last third is all about like resources, which just kind of feeds back into combat anyways.
Yeah.
So this entire skill tree,
It feels like 2/3 of it is
the
really just
equipment
focused,
system, the weapon upgrading, I don't care about any of it.
And the thing
Yeah.
is, like, the amount of stuff that they give you for combat, it makes you feel overpowered.
I mean, but being overpowered doesn't even matter much
Because
when
there's
you're
not hardly any combat.
Like I can't even. I mentioned this the other day. Like my inventory of resources to use to craft
It's
arrows and
always
ammo
full.
and explosives and stuff has been full for almost 6 or 7 hours of the game because I never need to use it.
And it's so obnoxious because you're finding little secrets. And like oftentimes the little secrets that aren't crypts or tombs
Yeah.
are like some of the rarer resources.
But
I'm always full on those as well. Like I don't need jade or gold ever because I'm not upgrading everything.
Okay.
And you got to spend like 5 or 6 skill points in order to purchase the ability to buy those additional pouches that hold on.
I care so little about skills. Today, when I opened my skill thing, I had 15 skill points that I hadn't used because
So combat's a lot less skills or whatever. How are the tunes?
Okay, real
good.
quick. So what I want to say,
we will start
we
to talk
kind of
about that.
opened with, I think, what is the most glaring problem with this game, and I do think it's a bit of a balancing and a design issue because,
Yes.
like the first thing we've talked a lot about this series in the past since they rebooted it and how they point everything out to you and like they use this survival sense very much like Batman, like all these games that started using this like push down on the right thumbstick to kind of like highlight stuff in the environment, which in some games works, and in games like this it kind of defeats the whole purpose of like that sense of exploration and finding
Yeah.
stuff. It just kind of like it's another way of just pointing you in a direction instead of giving you the ability to like find things on your own. And like half the skill tree in this game, or a third of it, is focused on like we booted the game up. First thing we did is we go into the accessibility options, boom, 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 turn off all that stuff so it's not pointing it out. But then the first few things that you end up like an entire third of the skill tree is there to like counteract what you just turned off. Which is really
I went
obnoxious.
into the option. So when I streamed it on Friday when it first came
Yeah.
out, I was like, well, I'm just going to use the senses to find like resources in the environment, right?
Yeah.
But eventually, I was just unlocking skills on the skill tree, and I eventually got a skill that made it so it highlighted everything, like puzzle components and stuff.
wow.
Like it, like you said, it overwrote what I had turned off
like she'll give like
via a
audible
skill.
hints.
So I just turned that vision off completely and have just
Yeah.
been just looking at the
Like,
environment.
literally,
And it's
like-
been way more rewarding.
Like literally, you can now if you tap on the thumbstick, nothing happens.
One of the
So like
coolest things
half
that
the abilities in the skill tree are useless.
and one of the coolest things that this game does, and one of the things that I'm most like happy about is that it has those 3 difficulty levels. One of them's puzzle, one of them's exploration, one of them's combat. If you turn the exploration one to hard, it removes all the white paint that makes like the ledges and stuff you're supposed to climb super obvious. And it's fascinating how much that changes kind of how you look at the world, and finding some crypts. I guess I've had some tricky time with finding a couple of crypts because of that.
Have you been easier to find bloods or?
God damn it!
Damn it,
that
Nolan.
joke was
But-
good.
but- so like
derailing shit.
But like it's such a good idea, and it's such a good direction for developers to be going when they're designing games, especially if they have this stuff in mind from the ground up. Like the new Assassin's Creed is doing that exploration mode, which not just removes icons but also gives you like vague directions to
Your destination or
to your destination. So because they know that there are players that really want to play these games very differently, and I admire that.
I will say that you said you can turn that white stuff off.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can.
So that was one of our actually big. I remember when this game first came out, and that was kind of one of my biggest complaints about it. Was I felt like it was similar to like Remember Me, which I had a big problem with. It was that it always was like almost a direct path where I needed to go, and I felt like something like Uncharted did a better job of, while there was certain things you could interact with, it wasn't like a white ledge. It was some crumbly looking rocks that was very obvious that that's where you needed to go. And in the first game, you couldn't turn that off, and that was kind of a frustrating thing for me. So the fact that they've at least made that...
No, I will say that absolutely.
This jump that he's about to do here is like the most, like, where the fuck was I going?
Because you turn these things off. First of all, I think the crowning achievement of this game so far to me, I think, has been the accessibility option. I think it's fantastic. Like there has been times like right here, I don't know where to jump. I die like 2 or 3 times right here because I literally just don't know whether I'm supposed to be jumping, whether I go up or to the left. I've even tried like lowering myself with the rappel and then like swinging myself to try and get to the ledge.
And there's also some geometry issues in there.
Yeah,
like
there'll
be jumps that you have to do, but there's like a little bit of ledge jutting out from the wall, and it will just knock you off.
But I mean,
and
that's the stuff that's been there
connect.
even when you did have the white paint. It's just.
I mean, there are some, there's some rough edges in this game, and that's fine.
But those rough edges come with the fact that the game gives you a little more freedom to kind of move around. So that like there's this weird sort of there's this weird sort of compromise that this game makes. There's a game like God of War, right? Where, or like Enslaved or something, where the climbing around you're doing, it is just to serve, like, lets you stream in the next area, lets you hear a little bit of the story, but it's boring, right? Because you can't fall off. Sure. There's no sense of danger. There's not even really any mechanics. It's just a transition. Basically, right? But this game gives you the freedom to kind of jump when you want, to kind of throw your axe out when you want. Like, it's an actual mechanic. And I think the trade-off is you're going to have some inconsistency, which surfaces that look like you should be able to jump off and grab aren't going to be able to. But I would rather have that freedom to jump around, to not feel so attached to the stuff I'm climbing on, to the floor, than something like God of War, which that stuff is so boring to me, right? I would prefer to occasionally miss a ledge grab than to have no freedom at all.
I agree with you that is one of the flaws in God of War, is the fact that you are very grounded. You can't physically jump up in the air, like you can't like vault over things or whatever. That was kind of one of my frustrations with that game.
Yeah, you're Kratos and you're like flipping temples, but you can't jump over like a 3-foot ledge. Yeah, it's like absurd.
I will say one thing that kind of bugs me with this game though, and is it's always they've taken steps forward in certain directions where they've given you all these accessibility options. They've made it easy. They've made it more fun to explore, but they've also made it like really easy to like tell if you're going the right direction, because if you jump against a wall that you can't interact with, she just doesn't do anything. Yeah. But if you hit a wall and she can like scamper up it, there's probably something up there that you can get to. So it's just kind of like sometimes you just end up running around like scampering up walls, hoping you're going to fucking find something to grab onto, and that can get kind of frustrating. But like just the fact that you can, once you turn those things off, you start to explore the environment with your eyes, which is so refreshing. And I would say these environments aren't huge, but like they find really interesting ways to like hide things off the beaten path and stuff. The only problem is that I know Brad's going to bring this up.
Oh,
maybe I'm going to transition.
Can I be the one to bring this up?
Sure.
It is so at odds with this idea that we're going to let the player turn all this stuff off and kind of just look at the environment and be immersed and just figure things out without all the hand holding.
Yeah.
The tool tips that pop up, the hint tips that pop up are so philosophically at odds with it's, it's kind of one step forward in terms of, good game design, and then 2 steps back with these fucking tooltips which
are
babysit
incessant.
you, and they're just obnoxious. Where I'm 18 hours into the game.
They're also inconsistent.
They're inconsistent, sure, but it's I'm 18 hours in, and they're teaching me how to do stuff I did 15 minutes into the game. Almost as like a handhold of like, if they forget how to do this, they're probably going to die. So let's throw up a tooltip right in the environment, and it's so obnoxious. I got into a tomb today.
Turn them off.
You can't turn them off, which is so absurd. You have all these options to turn all these things off, but you can't turn off the tooltips. That is insane to me. I go into a tomb today, which, there's how many tombs are in this game? 10 tombs?
10, I think.
10 tombs, right? This is like, to me, the highlight of this modern Tomb Raider series is you actually have these tombs with these cool, complex puzzles that often involve physics or some sort of clever twist. They're all like very different, and that's nice and it's refreshing, right? And I go to one where I see like this poison mist, and I've never seen it in a tomb before. And, I'm not an idiot. I could probably figure this out, right? We all could, right?
Sure.
But the first thing it tells me, as soon as one of those poison things pops into my view, is a tooltip that reminds me how to make fire arrows. Which, by the way, is something you have been doing since like the first hour of the game, right? And then this is a late game tomb, 15 hours into the game. Like you just ruined the entire fucking hook of this tomb, you assholes.
Now I am curious,
and it's not just the tooltips; it's the shit that has been a problem with this series since the first one. Where if you're nearby a tomb, a notification pops up on your screen that says there's a tomb nearby. You can't turn those off, which is absurd because we should be talking about these hidden tombs like they're these cool things that we found because we were going out of our way. We were being observant. Look at the way we were talking about cool places in Breath of the Wild, a week, 2 weeks after that game came out. Oh, did you find that? Did you go to that part of the world? Look for that crazy mountain. You'll find this like cool thing in this valley, right? You can't have these experiences because we're all having the same experience because we're all going to get the same tomb notifications,
The frustrating thing with that is that there's easy solutions to all of that. If it's a scenario where, I'm assuming that fire arrows maybe burned up the mist, the poison or something like that.
Yeah.
So if it's something like that, you don't need a tooltip for that. Obviously, you're in towns and people you interact with at some point. If they want you to know that fact, all you have to do is when you're in the town, have a man mention, "Oh, I was in the tomb and blah blah blah. I couldn't get the fire. The mist was a problem, but thankfully I had fire with me." And then that's all it says. And then maybe if you die to the poison or something, she'll be like, I remember that guy. It's like if it's just vocal. And the thing with tombs, all you have to do is if you're near a tomb, some audio cue. There's
a visual cue.
But that's what I'm saying. Not like an alert, but like maybe you hear some falling water. Or you see bats fly out of somewhere. Something simple that could be potentially missable, but hey, it's
optional, so who cares?
Exactly. It's a cue that is environmental, it's real, it's something that would maybe happen in the real
That is
there is a visual indicator of a tomb nearby. You see the yellow painted skulls, right?
Yeah.
And that's the sign that if you head this direction, down this nook, down this cranny or whatever, you're going to get to a tomb. But it's still, even when you're not even looking at it, you'll see there's a tomb nearby. Like,
I do think
the fact that you can't turn that off to me is insane.
I think
play
the
this
sad
on PC and mod it so you can turn that.
I think the sad thing here too is that these environments. First of all, I do want to say I think the environments are gorgeous and they're fun to explore.
This is one of the best looking jungles.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great.
It is a beautiful game in terms of like visual style and like the way they make all these different tombs and like crazy machinery and stuff like look distinct and fucking cool. It's just cool looking stuff.
Like the tomb you got stuck on, which we all got stuck on. We were all doing it for like an hour apiece.
But it's
with
the thing is like that's I think is the most like the least interesting looking one that I've done. Like some of these tombs are so distinct looking. and they're so like just. I was in awe of some of these ones. Like there's one that I saw Brad tweet about earlier this week because he shared one, like just a quick pan around the environment from PlayStation 4, and I was like, that's fucking cool.
It's the best stuff in this game. Like the artists who created this machinery and stuff,
and
like
conceptualized
it. That's the best stuff in this game.
Okay, and I do want to say,
It's so good.
I think a lot of what we said has come across like this game may not be worth your time, and I don't want that to necessarily.
It's just the frustrating part.
It's absolutely frustrating. It drives me fucking crazy because I would love to be able to have those water cooler discussions where we say, "Oh man, did you find?" Unfortunately, one thing I do think is these environments that they've created are a little too small to really be like. You can't really hide much when the environment's literally, like you said, like a lot of these tombs are literally, if you see a path branching off, you're like, oh, there's something down that path, and you go down, and sure enough, there's like a thing that you need, like you need a shotgun to blow through this thing, and if you go back there, you're probably gonna find a tomb or something. But it's like if the environments were a bit bigger and more open, and because even when you're in like the more open areas of this game, they do kind of feel like pathy.
So
right?
that was actually one of the things I wanted to mention about this game that is a little disappointing to me is that everything in this game seems really branchy, seems really pathy. I feel like Rise of the Tomb Raider felt a little the areas felt a little more wide open.
Yeah.
And I liked the feel of that a lot more.
But they
than
populated
this.
They populated it with so much combat in that game that it was.
Well, I mean, not
Which was
when
my
you're
problem with
in the big areas. There's combat, but it's not like combat sequences. There's just the occasional like pack of dudes here and there.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like the big wider open areas made it feel like you were less going down this branch, and there's these things you're gonna find on this branch. Maybe a tomb, maybe a crypt, maybe some stuff along the way. But once you're done with it, you're kind of done with it. It doesn't even feel like it's a part of the world anymore.
Yeah.
But when you're in the big, wider open areas, kind of running back and forth, you get a better sense of space. And like kind of the really only big open area in this game is Paititi, which is the big city, the big ancient city.
hidden city,
and
yeah.
I mean, how did y'all feel about all that stuff? I mean, there's a ton of side quests and
That
like,
is
people you can talk to.
I've
and
spent
shit.
like 3 hours exploring that place, and I've only like found 50% of the stuff there is to hide there. I'm like,
how
where are
much
they
is-
hiding all this shit?
Yeah, for how much little real estate there is,
Do we wanna
there's
switch
quite a
over
bit
to the
to
other
search
footage?
through.
Crispy, if you can switch over to the other footage
right.
somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Don't. Yeah. I won't say anything.
Listen,
This footage is
the
bad.
tombs, some of them can be tricky. Yeah. So
Okay. don't.
But the thing I will say about the cities is that interacting with those people and having, I don't know if y'all turned on the
I didn't, because the way
localized
they did it is
language
Oh
option.
no, I didn't. Oh, wait. Can you do that? So like all the voices are.
All the voices are like Incan and like
Oh, like
but
even when
she
you're having
still
like
speaks
story shit?
English, though.
Portuguese and Spanish. Like it's
like when you're talking like the main characters in PyTT, are they speaking English?
No, they're not.
only like a couple
speak
characters
Spanish.
actually are dead speaking English.
Because it drives me
the rest
crazy.
are speaking the native language.
It drives me crazy when I come in here and like this entire village tucked away in the mountains of in
and everybody
of
has an
South
English
America, and they're
yeah.
speaking like
English
better
with
English than I
accents.
do. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, but at the same time, Lara still speaks in English.
That's
to
the
them,
thing, though,
So
yeah.
it's like not really well done. What would have been cool is if there was an option to have her speak Spanish as well, but that option is not in this game.
Also,
Well, it's not even Spanish though. It's like this dialect from Chile and Peru.
the thing
Well,
is
some places they speak Spanish.
also like
Yeah,
it's
some
also
characters do.
it's kind of a bummer because they do kind of, as you're collecting certain things, it says you learn dialects
Yeah.
that allow you to read certain like things
Which,
in the environment.
which
that
was in
point-
Rise, and I think was in the first.
Yeah,
one,
and it's
too.
cool, but like I feel like it's kind of a missed opportunity because like you are speaking to a lot of people that technically shouldn't be speaking English.
It
to
should
you.
function like Albed in Final Fantasy. X.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
but I think we made this argument for Rise as well.
Probably so.
So-
now, we spent so much time kind of talking about like what kind of bugs the shit out of them,
And that's all
about
we
this
have
game.
time for. So this game apparently sucks. Let's move on.
But man, I gotta say, I was planning on kind of splitting my time this weekend between this and starting Dragon Quest. I couldn't pull myself away from it. Like I was like pretty engrossed in this game, and I couldn't stop playing it.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised by how much of a focus there is on stealth in this game.
But like even the stealth is only
That's a small part, though.
the stealth is only a big deal when you're in like those story focused like combat sequences. Like you spend
Yeah.
every time you're in a combat sequence, it's story focused in this game.
Yeah, but they always open in stealth, and they encourage you to play.
yeah,
in
but like
stealth.
I feel like I can count the number of like combat encounters on one hand in this game. Like I can picture them in my head, and it's like I've only done like 5 or 6
I did
of
a
these
shitty
things.
one today, but
I mean, I feel like there's always like the
Hey,
combat
Nick.
in these games. I don't think it's ever felt wonderful.
How
Like,
are the tombs?
dude, the tombs are great. We already talked about
it's
the
pretty
tombs.
good. This one that
mean,
that's
like,
we're
This
watching
one that you're
right
about to
now,
watch is awful because I'm.
it's not awful.
I mean,
It's
no,
not
I mean,
awful. It's a good idea. It's just you don't.
It's
you feel
tricky.
stupid when you figure it out.
Sorry, I'm sorry. The footage I captured of this tomb is awful because it's a very complicated puzzle. The
you have
point is-
footage of you doing this puzzle for the first time. What it highlights is that these are tricky. You have to use your head, and you have to, experiment a little bit, look around.
I did a fucking puzzle.
This is the Tomb Raider experience. This is the good parts of this game. So don't be afraid that this is
I'm not.
representative of what this experience might actually be.
It just kind of sucks because we've spent so much time talking about like what is very obviously kind of the negatives of this game, but I think there's a lot to appreciate about this game. Like as someone who liked the first one because it was different, didn't like the second one because they stayed on that path. And it didn't feel like Tomb Raider. Like I thought they were going to build to the sequels were going to feel like, oh, now we have this version of Lara in a game that feels more like classic Tomb Raider. That's what this game kind of feels like to me, because like there are encounters in this game. She fights a fucking jaguar. It's like I don't feel like you had enough encounters with like wild animals.
You
in
fought
the
a
last few
T-Rex?
games.
Honestly, I wish there was more in this game.
The thing about the Jaguars specifically is that in the first 2 games, Laura felt vulnerable.
Yeah.
Who?
Laura Croft.
Who?
I'm not gonna say it
That's
like
not
that.
a
you
fucking character. That's not a
fuck
fucking
you.
character. It's not her name. It's not spelled that way. It's not pronounced that way. It's not a fucking name.
Fuck you, Laura Croft. She felt very vulnerable in the first 2 games, so it made the encounter with the wolves in the first game and the bear in the second game be like life or death situations. When you encountered the jaguars in this new game, like the entire combat scenario is like they're just rushing at you, and I don't feel any danger at all. There is no danger to be felt there during that sequence.
Sure, maybe. I mean,
They get on your ass. You gotta
Whoa.
dodge a lot. But
Yeah, but it's literally just it's partially just the camera perspective while you're aiming your bow and trying to shoot them. Like they're just like kind of running at you and they're not doing anything else.
I mean, that's their cats. That's how they attack. I mean, here's the thing. Like the thing they do in this game, as far as like how you handle the situation, is very much like God, what's the game I've played very recently? You get attacked by something and you have to like do you have to dodge out of like do the thing where she like scampers across the ground really fast. You have to time it right, and if you hit it just right, like it slows down time a little bit, and she like
Like Spider-Man?
yeah,
yeah, I guess it. Yeah, like Spider. That's what I was trying to think of. It's
Yeah.
very much like the Spider-Man dodge.
Perfect
or whatever.
dodge.
I'm just saying, like, thematically speaking, this feels like what I've always come to expect from Tomb Raider. It's like it's very vibrant, lush. It feels kind of like a swashbuckling adventure, like Indiana Jones or something.
Well, I think the setting is helping with that.
Yeah, it is. This is by far my favorite setting of this entire trilogy. I think this game, it captures kind of the spirit of Tomb Raider better than either of those last 2 games did by a country mile.
Well, I mean, we haven't talked about the story at all. This is what's cool about
Watch out! There it is.
what's cool about the story in this one is it's kind of like everyone's kind of dumping on Lara, which is nice
Because
Yeah.
because it's
kinda
like
is her
it's
fault.
like you like you're kind of only thinking about yourself here, and like you're so like obsessed with obtaining this thing, and you think this is all about you, but like all these people just died and we could help them.
Yeah.
I feel like
part of the problem for me is that this entire story is told in media res with like no build up at the beginning. Like it just fucking starts and there's like so little presented connection between Rise and this title, but it's so dependent on the events of the first 2 games that there's a disconnect.
Mostly with her relationship with Jonah, I feel like.
Yeah, Jonah,
and her father, but and this is also the first game in the series that I feel like. Wait, no, there was a thing in Rise where they kind of did the same thing. I don't want to spoil that. There's actually a moment that was kind of reminiscent of like some of the stuff in earlier Tomb Raiders with the Croft Manor and stuff.
that was a pretty cool level.
That was pretty
that
good.
that was
really
pretty
cool.
fucking cool.
Like they do some genuinely cool stuff in this
Yeah.
game, and I think atmospherically this game is fantastic. I think the tombs are better than they've ever been before, and there's tombs and there's crypts, and the crypts are not nearly as
They're
complicated
not really
as the
like
tombs.
puzzles. They're just sort of like navigational things.
But like
usually.
they all have their own unique like atmosphere and stuff, which I think is really
didn't talk about
really cool.
all the underwater stuff too. Like
Yeah,
one of
there's
the
a
reasons.
lot.
One of the reasons I personally get excited about this game is because of all the underwater stuff, and I mean I just always love that. Even though
It feels good
the stakes don't seem super high when you're underwater. At least not for me. But
when there's piranhas.
it's cool.
Or eels.
Yeah, there's underwater
eels.
stealth where you're hiding from piranhas and stuff, which is a little strange. But I want to conclude by saying maybe I'm not quite as high on this as Nick is. This is a game of extreme highs and lows, and then a lot of me thinking about this series and kind of where it's been and where it's going. Ultimately, I think this is. It's sad for me because I know this game isn't selling super well, and this is sort of the end of the trilogy anyways, and I think based on both of those things, we're probably going to see Lara go away for a while. I would like this series to be rebuilt
Again?
as something like very different. Like I think all developers should be looking at Breath of the Wild, honestly, but I think Tomb Raider, like specifically.
Do you remember the conversations we had before this game? The first reboot was officially announced, and there was leaked
Yes,
theories about
the one
what
that got canceled, right? That was
I don't
going to
think
be.
it was. I think it eventually became what we ended up getting, but there was a version of the original reboot where it was like open and she was like
world.
climbing trees and like hunting animals and stuff.
Not just that, but it was like I don't know if this was something that was leaked or something that I just sort of fantasized about, but it was this idea of a completely open world Tomb Raider game and like a series of islands, and you actually have a boat that can get you around between the different islands. Like bring back vehicles, like a big open world is a Tomb Raider game has never done. There's been a ton of Tomb Raider games, but it's so perfect. Vehicles have always been a part of it ever since the second game. Like bring that back. Use it as a means of just getting around a large space.
Look what they did with Lost Legacy and
Well, I was gonna say it kind of reminds me of Uncharted 4 when you on the boat sequence where you're kind of sailing around.
Oh, yeah, I
like
forget about
driving
that.
the boat around that island area,
Yeah.
kind of solving some puzzles on the island.
Or look at
that.
Lost Legacy with the
field
with the Jeep and stuff.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
obviously, I'm saying Uncharted 4. They had the big open area where you're driving the Jeep around the stuff, and then you transition. But those are all very disjointed. If they could combine those into a one giant open or potentially
which they
partially,
should. Both Uncharted and fucking Tomb Raider need to be doing that shit.
Yeah.
Both of them should look at Breath of the
Uncharted
Wild.
at least is going in the right direction. Uncharted has
that's
started having the big open areas where both the Jeep in the in 4 and then the boat section, and then the Lost Legacy standalone has the Jeep even a bigger area.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely assume if they plan on doing another Uncharted, which I wouldn't be surprised if
course,
they didn't, that they might even go to a bigger area.
Yeah, and I feel like this series was kind of on a path, or it started. There's probably been a lot of ideas tossed around about how Tomb Raider could come back, and I just feel like what we ended up with was kind of a disappointment. But like at the same time, there are some cool ideas here. There's some cool shit being done. There's some great moments if you like this kind of adventuring stuff. So like this hasn't been doing well financially and stuff, and I think we're probably going to find out that it's kind of going to be a bomb.
So who's here is worried about Eidos Montreal, right? Because the last Deus Ex game was a bomb as well.
not that great.
I mean, that last Hitman game was fucking dope. Everyone was talking about it and won a lot of awards, but they still let fucking IO go, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm worried about Eidos Montreal, like seriously, because this game, with as many like art assets and stuff that are in this game, like this thing looks expensive as hell.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that they're not going to recoup those costs, and that Square Enix, might just shut this studio down. And
You never
really
know.
worries me because not only do I think this game is, this is a pretty, probably going to be my favorite out of these modern Tomb Raider games, maybe that first one, but like they also did the impossible. They did a sequel to Deus Ex that actually lived up to the name way more than the second game, and now this studio, after 2 Deus Ex games and this, might go away. I mean that's frustrating.
Yeah,
would
it
suck.
is. We've talked. We can move on. I think this game is worth. If you have any at all interest or investment in Tomb Raider as a franchise, or even this style of game, if you're a fan of Uncharted or whatever, I think it's probably worth your time. Because there's some cool stuff in here. Just be prepared to be frustrated. and don't be afraid to turn all the difficulty up, especially on exploration.
I think absolutely. Like, you should not only turn all that stuff off, you will have a better time, but maybe even wait for like a patch. I feel like we should all be yelling at the studio right now, like, hey, we're not happy about these tooltips. Please patch in an option to get rid of them, because, you know, I mean, this day and age, with as common as, you know, patches are to fix that kind of stuff, like, I think that's a very real possibility. But
the sad thing is, it's probably going to happen, but it's going to be well after I've already finished the game and moved on.
Which is
sucks.
you know, I almost considered stopping playing it, to be honest.
Anyways, well, we can move on from this, but yeah, that's Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I hope some people check it out, and I hope it does okay. Like, I hope this game isn't a complete fucking financial bomb, but only time will tell.
They're saying, well, I mean, we only have like UK numbers, but they've not been good at all.
Wonderful, fucking wonderful. All right, let's move on. Chris Davis, thanks for sitting in.
You're welcome.
Well, actually, you know what?
Sold.
You wanted to talk about The Messenger, didn't you?
No, I'm not actually going to talk about that tonight.
Oh, damn it!
He's barely made any progress.
Damn it! I've lied to the people.
That's not fucking true at all, actually.
No,
I've lied to the people,
but I didn't capture footage. And this dude, can I say that this guy's been harassing me? like I got The Messenger on my Switch for the specific reason of, you know, I take my Switch to work and I play it on my lunches, right? And that's the only time I play my Switches. So, you know, I have an hour lunch. I have to spend some of that time fucking eating. So I usually only get 30 minutes, 45 minutes of actual game time on a good day. And I work a 4-day week, so I have 4 lunches a week. And this guy's like, why haven't you finished The Messenger? Why haven't you finished The Messenger? I'm fucking playing it, just not at, you know, I didn't poop sock it like you.
I've asked you 3 times in the 3 weeks since the game is released whether you've beaten the game yet or not.
If I'm playing 30 minutes 4 times a week, it's not a short game. How long did it take you to finish?
About 14, 15 hours.
Okay, so get off my dick.
So give me like 6 months.
Maybe you need to send Chris Davis a messenger.
I still haven't finished Celeste.
Well, in that case, thank you, Chris Davis, for sitting in for the Tomb Raider conversation. Let's get Crispy back on the couch.
What is this playing?
He's just looking at fucking Fortnite videos.
Oh my god, what is happening to Crispy?
Gross.
He's been doing it this
fucking
entire
gross.
time.
No, Chris Davis, just stay. Crispy is now the producer.
Let's all shame Crispy for watching Fortnite videos. Oh my god. Hey,
the thing
Nolan.
is, he's using my Reddit account to do it, so like he's upvoting all this.
But like,
shit.
it's not just that he's watching it because he's randomly browsing Reddit. Didn't he say last week he's a Fortnite player now? He plays Fortnite.
He's not saying anything. So
Crispy's just sitting in the chair smiling.
Crispy,
like
do the loser dance. Do the loser dance.
Okay.
Let's move
podcast,
All right,
audio
come back,
format.
Crispy. You fucking know what it is.
All right, let's get Crispy back on the couch over here. Come on, Crispy. Get back over here. All right.
Fortnite.
Nolan,
What's up, Nick?
let's talk a little Dragon Quest.
Ooh, okay.
It's on my shelf. I was hoping to start it, but I got sucked into Tomb Raider, so.
All right.
Tell me about your time with Dragon Quest
Do you have
11.
much history with this series, Nolan?
Before 11, I've played about 3 to 4 hours of Dragon Quest in my life.
Was it 8?
wow.
For the PS2?
I think it was 5.
What? Really?
Yeah, I think it
Weird.
was like a random old one. I don't think I ever
On
even
DS?
touched 8. Yeah. Dragon Quest is a game. I think I played the original too. Dragon Quest is a series I've always wanted to get into, but it's also one of those games that it's like, do I have time? It's kind of a big commitment. It's also similar to like, Final Fantasy. I don't say similar to Final Fantasy, but I mean it's it's in that same vein. So yeah, but I was like, you know what? I want to play it. I watched that Kotaku review. I was like,
which was fantastic.
It was good. It definitely gave me high hopes for the game.
Made me want to wear a bathrobe while playing this.
Yeah. It's one of those games that, unlike Ni no Kuni, it's good.
Oh, low blow.
God. Well, I had such high hopes for Ni no
I
Kuni,
know.
and I just was super let down by it. And then I don't want to say immediately, but within the first hour of this game, I was already fucking gelling. I mean, you're Android 17, you're running around with Super Saiyan Blue Goku, and you got like a little lady and like a tall lady with you who are like magician twins. So okay, Dragon Quest.
This has a much bigger budget than Ni no Kuni 2. Probably.
Yes, I know.
Because this is all the rage in Japan.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, is this part voice acted?
Yes.
How much voice acting is in this game?
So far, 95%.
Okay.
Which is amazing because there are this game is huge.
Yeah,
Do
this
you know
entire
that
scene is voice acting.
In Japan, there's no voice acting?
Correct.
When
I
this
did
game
know that.
came out?
That is so weird. So
Yeah.
they literally gave it voice acting when they brought it here.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is not the first time they did that. They also did that with 8.
But yeah, so like I said, most things are voice acted. Any kind of main quest or even like side quest, even like some people you walk up to. I mean, there's the odd occasion of just like a random town person's not voice acted, but anything that you have like a conversation.
More than Ni no Kuni 2.
Yes, exactly. And it's not that I don't need that. It is nice. I do find myself often like kind of reading ahead and skipping.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have the option to just be able to sit back and kind of listen to a conversation, especially when it's about the fucking main quest. And some of the implication of what's going on is actually fucking interesting in this game compared to Ni no Kuni. I don't want to compare the two, but I mean, I was super excited for that when I bought it day one.
It takes
and
a while
then
for that
I was
game to
super
get.
let down.
It is somewhat fair to compare them because Level 5, who developed Ni no Kuni 2, actually they're the ones who worked on Dragon Quest 8 and 9.
Yeah.
So they have history with this series. Because Enix always they always find an outside developer to make these games ever since the beginning.
So like I was saying, I don't have too much history with the series, so I don't know. Was in previous games was the tactics thing similar? So in this similar, I don't want to say similar to the Gambit system. It's closer to, what's a good way to describe it? I don't know. There's definitely other games that have
Well,
it.
explain it because I
So-
don't have a big history.
So
with
in
this
combat,
series.
you can control it like an old school RPG where you control each character individually. Hey, it's main character's turn. I want you to do this,
Yeah.
or it's this character's turn. I want you to do this. Where in this, you can set tactics, and so it says, hey, I want you to act freely, just do whatever, or hey, I want you to be conservative and like maybe conserve MP or whatever. And you can kind of set all these different things, and then you just say go.
Do you do that?
Yeah, I've actually been doing it quite a bit.
Especially for grinding.
Now, I will say, for some boss fights, I've definitely taken over, because the characters will do silly things sometimes. For example, if you put an enemy to sleep, much like any other RPG, any magic attack won't wake them up, but physical attacks will. And I've noted that often when one of my characters has an ability that when he hits them, they will often go to sleep, and my other characters will just fucking start wailing on him like, dude, no, fucking attack the ones who aren't asleep, leave that guy alone because he clearly can't. And so there are definitely times where I do take over.
It's very like the battle system used to be very kind of stuck in the past. Like I think it even used to have the thing where if you killed an enemy, people you told to attack that enemy would attack nothing. Instead of switching over to the next enemy. It doesn't do that anymore, but I think maybe even 8 did that. Also, is the turn order still like seemingly random?
Yes.
I've always hated that about
it is.
Dragon Quest.
It does seem to be. My assumption is everyone has like a speed stat, and
But like a rough
speed stat. But everything starts, and say if your speed stat is 3 and another speed stat is like 7. Then the first person might attack twice before the second person even goes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because it just seems to kind of be like sometimes my character will just kind
But
of.
it
like,
still feels like dice rolls, even
Yes.
though there's a speed stat, right?
Definitely. So here, I just got these 2 new characters, and so I just went into the tactics, and I was like, hey, fight wisely. That's what was my thing to them. And then I just said, hey, fight, and they just go. The cool thing about this, and I don't know, it's interesting because the main character can move anywhere around the battlefield. You just freely run around, kind of like Ni no Kuni.
But it doesn't do anything.
But it doesn't
a lot
really
of people
do
say
anything.
just turn it off.
Yeah, it doesn't set you up for any like special attacks or anything. It's just more of like, I guess you can just.
Have you tried turning that off?
No.
Because you can turn that off and it'll be like it used
More
to be.
cinematic. A
It's
camera
little
will
more
be in a
cinematic.
certain angle. Yeah, no, I know. But I've done this just because mainly it's fun to just kind of run around and hide behind the enemies and stuff and whatever.
Can I say I adore the enemy designs in
Dude, the
Dragon
enemies
Quest?
are delightful.
Yeah.
Dude, I
They're
adore
always-
like just the overall like tone and vibe and feel of the world. One thing I want to, and this is kind of
Dude, I was playing this the other day, and when I stopped, Bernadette had the fucking like overworld music stuck in her head.
Yeah, no,
because she
it's-
just happened to be in the room while I was.
the
playing
music's
it.
always been really good.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a happy game to play, kind of stress free. So one thing that I've been kind of iffy about is they've talked a lot about this game being kind of in certain ways kind of linear. Like the world, I don't know how many hours you say you've played it. No, I mean
I'm about 8 hours in.
Okay, because Dragon Quest VIII is it's you can kind of roam around and go in any different direction, but like I've heard people compare this to like maybe not to the same extent, but like Final Fantasy 13, we were always kind of
so more
funneled.
like 10. Or no, even like 8. 8 was still kind of linear.
8? No, 8 was a huge open world. You can go anywhere you want.
But like I think when you think of like open world in a modern setting, it's like I can go to whichever town I want to. Mm-hmm. Dragon Quest has never really been like that. Like the main quests kind of took you down a path, the dungeons you went to, the towns you went to, that was all had an order. Even Final Fantasy 7 was like very linear.
Yeah.
You eventually got the airship, and there was secret side stuff.
But there's a certain amount of openness that, like, when you get to the overworld in those games, like, you can go any direction you want. Like, you are still being funneled down a path story for the sake of the story, but like, you can always branch out and go do side quests and move in any different direction you want at any time. This game is apparently not like that. It very specifically, like, you go to one area, you do stuff, you move on to the next area, and you are moving on. Like, there's not really, to my knowledge, you're not.
What I will say
a lot.
is, so far, I haven't done too much backtracking. I actually did, if you'll notice, when I left that town, one of the characters, Veronica. Veronica?
Yeah, I think
Veronica was talking to me, and she gave me an ability called Zoom, which will allow me to fast travel to places I've been before, because there are some, I won't say Metroidvania, but there are some doors and some things that you can't interact with now, and you don't know why you can't, and eventually later on you probably will get the ability to.
But all your backtracking is probably going to be through that fast travel system and not like...
No, you can physically run there if you want to. Everything's physically connected.
It's probably like Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, I would. It's similar to Final Fantasy X. You do have... unlike the Japanese version, there is a sprint in this game, so you can move a little faster. Yeah. And there are these posts you can interact with, which will call up like a horse. And you can ride the horse, and that makes you even faster. And you can almost do that so I will say you can completely avoid combat in this game if you want to. You can outrun any enemy. If you're on a horse, as long as the enemy isn't too strong and you're galloping, you just knock them out of your way.
Yeah.
You don't get any like experience or any money or anything for that. But yeah, so if you're trying to get somewhere quickly and you don't want to fast travel, or you're trying to get there are easy ways to kind of get around this game, and it is while to an extent kind of linear so far. That might just be because there's not a reason to open it up. Early on, a couple of my paths were blocked because it was like, oh, there's some strong enemies that way. Don't go there.
I've just heard people specifically say there is a very obvious structural difference in this game versus past Dragon Quest games.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just kind of one thing it's been kind of a hesitation I've had, just because when I do play, I don't play a lot of JRPGs anymore, but when I do, I prefer them to be less linear, less corridor focused. And I think I mentioned Final Fantasy 13 a while ago. That's obviously the extreme. I think Final Fantasy 13 is ridiculous in terms of how corridory it is. I don't think that's the case here, but it's always just something in the back of my mind.
Linear, but not corridors. Like, there's big, wide open spaces in this game, from what I understand.
No, there definitely are. You can, you saw me I'm kind of in one right now, where you have access to like a big area. If I don't know if I bring up the map at all, but there are multiple branches I can take off from this big area I'm in, which will go to other big areas. But yeah, I don't know how big it gets because I'm only 8 hours in, and in a game that's probably
you still got about 142 hours left.
80 to 100 hours. I have plenty left.
I heard this mini game thing for forging is supposed to be surprisingly fun.
Yeah, so fun. This is the fun-sized forge, and it's a little forge you get, and you can use it when you're at camps. You'll find recipes in the world, and some people will get you them for maybe completing a quest for them. And you can craft equipment or upgrade current equipment. And it's a mini game in the sense that you can only forge so much at a time. I'll kind of think of it. You can only hit something so many times before you run out of stamina, I guess. it's kind of random, and the more you do it, the more you level up your forging ability, and the more precise you can become. Early on, you'll hit something to kind of craft it, and the bar will go up either like say 20 points or like 50 points, or it's kind of random how far it goes, and you want to get it to like there's like an arrow that's kind of there's a big section that's anywhere in here, you're good. If you're dead center, it's perfect. If you're either too low or too high, when you craft the item, it will come out crappy, like it's not very good. And so you can get like a failure, which means it won't even have succeeded. You just like crafted nothing. A success, meaning it's an okay item, or a perfection, which is like a +3 version of that item.
And you're crafting what, like weapons and
so
armor
you're crafting
and stuff?
armor, you're crafting weapons, you're crafting like hats and clothing.
When you change armor and clothing, does it?
Sometimes there are some sets of armor and stuff that will visibly show on the character, but not always. It depends. Like there are some hats you can put on that will actually show up. And when you get that perfection, it's really good because obviously like I had an item that gained me MP. It gave me 1 MP a turn, which is not that much. But I crafted it, and I was actually able to get it to a +3, and so then now it gains 3 MP every turn, which early on is actually very helpful.
Yeah. Can I just interject here and say one of the things I like about Dragon Quest is that you deal in very low damage numbers.
Yes.
I was watching footage for the new Assassin's Creed, and he was like doing combos, and each hit was like doing 33,000 damage. Why is it so inflated in Assassin's Creed? That's
There's no
so
reason
shit.
for it to be that
The thing
high.
is, like, just think back to the day, early Final Fantasy, that was kind of the same way. Like,
I mean, it capped you at like 9,999.
But like that's
though.
over like
And that was like towards the end of the game when you were doing
the thing
that.
is, even in Final Fantasy, after 1,000, you kind of stop paying attention.
But like, yeah,
I hate that.
In this, like, I'm doing 12 damage, 14 damage. Yeah. It's nice small numbers.
Yeah.
There's no reason for them to be larger.
But
yeah, so another good thing in this game that I like compared to other games is when you level up, you fucking get completely healed and completely full MP.
Yeah.
And that's just so fucking nice. Like
I
when
feel
you're
that's just-
exploring
that's-
the world and maybe grinding or something, which I haven't done too much yet. One thing you'll see me
you
doing
will.
there are these little like sparkles. That usually will have like crafting stuff, crafting supplies. And whenever I come to a new area, I always first attack any enemies I haven't seen before, just so I can kind of see what they are. Maybe get drops. Sometimes they'll drop items and chests and whatnot. And then look up all the sparkles, because when you first get there, they're unknown on your map. You can actually look at them on the map, but you won't know what it is. Once you've interacted with it once, after a while, it will like come back. It'll like after a cooldown, the item you can pick it up again, and so the good thing is you'll be able to know if I need this to craft something, but I'm missing 2 of them. You just pull up your map in a certain area, be like, I know there's some right there, and you're able to run to it, which is nice. Unless you sometimes
kind of the opposite of what we were talking about.
Yeah.
In like Tomb Raider, it's like, just show me where it all is.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm enjoying the story so far. I'm enjoying the towns.
It's just delightful.
I do like the main story. Like I said, I'm not too far into it, but there's some kind of interesting stuff that happens early on. Oh yeah, I forgot about the pep system. Pep. So you just saw my character went Super Saiyan.
Yep, that's what I saw with my own eyes.
After so much damage you've sustained over the course of multiple battles, you'll go into a pep mode, which is like you're pepped up. I think in the Japanese version they called it focus.
Yeah.
Which makes a little, I don't know, more sense to me. I don't know, whatever.
But Pep is adorable.
Yeah, I guess so. So if you're pepped up, you do more damage, which is nice. And then if another character in your party is pepped up, you can do like unite attacks, like the other game I've been playing recently, Suikoden.
How wonderful is it to just play 2 very, like 20 years apart, but very delightful RPGs, and not playing something so like drab. Like
Exactly. No,
Octopath
yeah,
Traveler.
they're fairly lighthearted. But yeah, so you yeah, and I think in this footage it happens. My what's his face, blue hair Goku. My memory's horrible at the moment.
The main character.
Zach?
Eric,
thank you, Eric. Jesus Christ.
His name
Eric.
is
right there.
His name is
I'm
Eric.
Far away, yeah.
That's a weird name.
When he
fantasy
gets
RPG.
pepped, we can do a unite attack. I don't know where it's a special attack, and everyone will have kind of different ones when two are both in pep mode. And
I've seen some of the animations and they're like crazy.
dude, some of them are pretty fucking cool. But yeah, I don't know. Once again, I am
Oh,
very.
wait. No, in Japan it's called In the Zone.
Oh, In the Zone, rather.
In the
Thank
Zone.
You.
In the
yeah,
Zone.
I like
I
In the
forgot.
Zone better than Pep.
That video has been a very long
Yeah.
time talking about
Well,
being
that was
in
also
the
a
zone.
long video.
I watched every minute of it. It was great.
But yeah, so there is similar. I don't want to say it's like the job board or kind of. It's that of that vein.
Yeah, it might feel like Final Fantasy 12, just more simplified. I
Exactly. And once again, low numbers. We're talking here where in like Final Fantasy, like the job board has like fucking 1,000 things on it. Whereas in this,
You're dealing in like a dozen.
Yeah, you don't have that much. But kind of the problem with that is it's like, oh well, I can't learn that many things, I guess.
Yeah.
So characters do have to focus on different branches. So you can, like, the main character can either use swords or he can use he has a because he is the what is his name?
The special one.
Yeah, the
Luminous?
Lu-
or something
Luminary.
like that? Luminary.
Luminary. So you can learn luminary abilities, which are kind of like special, like spells and stuff like that. Or you can go down like one-handed swords or like great swords. And like your friend who's a thief, Eric, can have either like boomerangs or daggers or knives or stuff like that. And so you have to go down those paths to learn
boomerangs.
certain
They hit
abilities.
everything, right?
Yeah.
This definitely seems like a game where you're going to probably unlock everything on these trees.
No,
Especially if
actually
you,
not.
I
Really?
don't think
From
you
what I hear-
can.
what I hear
I've
now.
heard as well that even though they're short things, I mean, some of those, like, you get 1 or 2, maybe 3 skill points a level, and some of these things cost like maybe 9 or 10. I don't even know how much to get farther on. But I'm 8 hours in and I've only unlocked a few abilities. And my own, like, that's kind of like one of my problems is I honestly do wish there was a little more. It's like, oh, I unlocked ability that does 2% extra damage.
yeah.
And I'm like,
Hooray!
yeah. So I don't know. We'll see how far. How much that changes as time goes. Oh, another cool thing I forgot. Some enemies, when you defeat them in combat, you can like mount them. And then you're like disguised as that enemy, so other enemies won't attack you, and you can maybe use an ability they have to get to another area. So I was in a dungeon, and I was one of these like kind of guys on like he's on like a skeleton mount. When I mounted him, I was able to crawl up walls to get to a new area and stuff like that.
Double pep attack.
Yeah, so here's like a pep attack where they both attack at the same time, and it does a shit ton of damage. It did like 50 and then like 30, so like 80 damage compared to like 14. So that's a pretty big amount.
Nice.
Another thing I really like about this game, besides the dungeons are kind of interesting, I haven't done too many yet, is I like that bosses and bigger and more important enemies are susceptible to status effects. That's always one of my biggest frustrations in RPGs, when you have these cool abilities, but generally you don't use them too often on everyday enemies because the enemies are weak enough.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, I don't need to fucking use this spell that puts this enemy to sleep, and then when I attack them with a certain ability while they're asleep, it does more damage because whatever, I fucking already killed them with like that first hit anyway. And then you get to the boss fight and he's immune to that. Oh, he's immune to that. Oh, he's immune to that.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, like one of the first bosses I came up to, I put him to sleep. That's fucking awesome that you can do that.
You spend all this time working for the ability. You have the ability. We're going to let you use it.
Yes,
even if it's on a fucking
I
boss.
like that.
They should be able to balance
that's the
it
thing.
out.
Yeah, status effects on enemies. I have one ability that it's almost like a curse that you can put on an enemy, and anytime they attack, they take damage. And I did that to a fucking boss. Every time he attacked me, he took like 11 to 15 damage.
Nice.
That's like free damage. So yeah, like I said, I'm
pepped are you for this game?
I'm a lot more than even when I bought it.
Would you say you're in the zone for this game?
I definitely am.
Fantastic. I can't wait to
I've
start
been
it.
enjoying it a lot. I would have
kinda
I would
wanna
have
wait
played
for the
even
Switch
more of
version.
this if I wasn't playing
I
a different
think-
game at the same time.
I think I'm going to start this, but I could very easily see this being like just something I kind of play in the background for like the rest of the year. It's like 100
potentially, yeah,
100+ hour game.
But like I said, one of the cool things is it. I don't feel like I'm ever really being slowed down.
Yeah.
By like here I am in this giant area. Every enemy, I'm like, I don't want to fight him. I'm just gonna run past him.
Yeah.
Oh, I do want to fight this guy. Let me.
That's the beautiful part. Is you can if you don't want to fight something, just don't touch anything.
I recommend next time you play, try that other camera mode and let me know
No,
what
I
you
will.
think.
And the reason that can be important is it's an old school RPG. You can't save whenever. You can only save at shrines, like you've always been able to do in Dragon Quest games. So if this honestly right now, I'm kind of trying to stop recording footage because like I had to like.
But you
got
to find a stopping point.
But it's like, man, I got to get to a shrine before I can't just.
You gotta go to church.
Yeah, you gotta go to church, which is kind of interesting.
I mean,
Pray to
that's the
God.
thing.
Yeah.
The thing is about Dragon Quest is it's a series that's always been kind of traditional, and it's never really been interested in being anything other than that.
Yeah,
it seems, which is fine. I think that's great.
Even though the last game was an MMO and 9 did some pretty interesting stuff, but yeah, at the core of it, it's always so
Classic.
JRPG, classic JRPG. It's like, and it's $60, just like Octopath Traveler. So if you want, a classic JRPG.
Interesting thing is
maybe
sometimes
get this
too,
one.
enemies will be disguised as like regular things. So I run up to this cactus just to kind of run past it, and it's like, oh shit, that was an enemy.
Oh,
and it'll
damn.
just like pop up and start attacking you.
Sneaky bitch. All right,
But yeah,
thank you, Nolan. I can't wait to play this.
I'm gonna keep playing it.
All right, we need to take a break. When we come back from the break, we have one more game to talk about, and then we got some news to cover and some questions to answer. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this quick break. I'm kind of sad because like
Why
I've been
is
playing
sad,
Tomb
man?
Raider all week,
Okay.
and I've been really enjoying it.
Okay.
And I know like there's a lot of critiquing to be done with that game.
Yeah.
But I feel like at the end of the day, like the conversation is just feels so down
Why?
on the game.
Oh,
It sucks because that stuff needs
Don't
to be
get me
said.
wrong. I mean to be down on it in the ways that I
Absolutely,
have
it needs to be said. It needs to be discussed. I'm just saying it kind of sucks because it's kind of hard to say all these things and then be like, but you should still play it.
Nick, I think that is a
know
very
what I mean?
common thing that happens with us. The problem is, I think with a lot of games, it's hard in certain scenarios to talk about the things you like about a game because it's you have to be in the experience. It's not something, I've been playing Dragon Quest and I can't talk about how it's hard for me to describe the feeling of going between towns and combat and this and that. It's more of a feeling you get when you're in the moment. But it's very easy to talk about things that are flawed with the game because it's something you can very specifically say, like, this is a flaw.
Yeah.
And so that I think that's something that often happens when we talk about games is we do go a little in depth into our frustrations with them.
I just hope it doesn't come across too much as like, well, they certainly didn't give their seal of approval in this game. It sounds like they
Well, that's
didn't
why
like
at the
it
end
at
of
all.
every time you talk about a game, you just be like, 8 out of 10.
I don't want to do that either. That's like the other far end of the spectrum. Anyways, we need to get back to the main show. Which we're back. We're back from the break. Thank you guys for sticking around with us if you're watching us live on Twitch. We still got a game and some news and some questions to answer. So
Hey, Nick.
yes.
If you leave in the part of your concerns about the Tomb Raider conversation that you just mentioned, okay, then now people know.
I know.
And now
That's kind of why I did it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you
We're
like
on-
to keep that stuff off the podcast, but that's the best stuff.
Yeah.
That's the best stuff.
And
it's
you know
when
what?
we're the most honest.
You know what? You hear it if you tune in live.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is true. Hey, Nolan.
What's up, Nick?
You got another game you want to talk about?
Yes.
Tell us about that Frostpunk expansion.
Frostpunk, The Fall of Winterhome is the latest expansion. It came out yesterday. I have been...
More ice.
Huh?
More ice.
Yeah.
It's called Winterhome.
Yes, that is true.
Well, the whole
I've been
game's ice.
anticipating this expansion since I started the game, mainly because on the main menu, when you're selecting a scenario, there was one that said coming soon. And now it no longer says that, and it's actually Winterhome. So, on Tuesday, when I casted this week, my plan, going to play some Fall of Winterhome, and when I finish it, going to switch over to maybe some Suikoden, maybe some Dragon Quest.
That didn't happen, did it?
Holy shit, this one is hard. Like,
That's a big city compared to what it used to be.
So here's the thing. It's the reason it's called the Fall of Winterhome is because Winterhome has fallen. You are not the leader of this town. The leader of this town, unlike every other scenario where you are a band of survivors and you show up, you find a generator.
Wait, can you give a real quick 10,000 foot view of what Frostpunk is in like a sentence?
Yes.
For people who don't know what Frostpunk
The-
is.
Game. City survival.
Okay, maybe a 5,000
That's
foot
what
view.
I was doing, Nick.
Game with ice.
Generally, up until this expansion, a group of survivors find a generator in a post-apocalyptic wasteland that is freezing. They huddle near that generator for warmth, and you slowly build out a city while collecting resources to survive. That's basically it. This one, that city's been going for a while. The guy who was leading it before was a fucking idiot. It's horribly planned. Like, everything's in weird positions. It doesn't make sense.
This seems frustrating.
It is. And so they got mad at him. So the town rioted.
He's a dum-dum.
Burned half the city.
Oh, shit.
Murdered him. And now you're in charge. And
You're
so
in charge of a bunch of murderers?
Yes. And so, like, your population starts at, like, little under 600 people. But everything you see here, I would say maybe 60 to 70, maybe 80% of it is not usable buildings. They are buildings that are in the way. You have to get them out of the way, which means you have to clear them. So the first several days of this game is you just trying to clear burnt buildings.
This game is literally just cleaning up someone else's mess.
Yes, it is extremely stressful. The fucking pit where you bury dead people is in the middle of the fucking town.
Yeah.
Which means
So it's easy to get to.
Disease just spreads. And so
God,
for the
I
first
can't
several
handle this.
days, every night when people aren't working, just carrying dead bodies.
Yeah.
Dead bodies to the snow pit. And because so many people died during this initial thing. So the first thing I had to do the third time I started this was move the snow pit fucking really fucking far away.
Corpse pit.
Thank you. And then kind of start slowly moving bodies there. I will say, I don't know if I got to the end of it at the when I was finishing my stream the other day. I got to a point where there was an ultimatum that was like your discontent has to be below 15% and your hope has to be above 50. My hope was at like 48. And I fucking lost, and I was so mad. And I don't know. I might have beaten it if I had gotten a little bit better, but I didn't realize a couple of things. The one thing that really fucked me was that people were mad because they were cold and their homes weren't heated. And so I was like, I promise you, I will heat every home and keep them that way at least 2 days.
Spoken like a true politician.
And I fucked up because like one house got too cold.
But what
and
about my house?
Exactly, and the hope just plummeted. But as you see, hope is extremely low. So you're constantly trying to battle, keeping them just like willing to keep going.
I can't do it.
This one's very hard.
By the way,
Brad.
Chris Davis brings this up. I forgot about this, but that's also an exact scenario on one of the islands in Jurassic World Evolution.
What's that?
Well,
Where you start the island out and
Yeah,
it's just a fucking train wreck.
This is
and you
very
have to-
common for a city building
Yeah.
type game. You know, it's what'd be super cool is if they took people's cities from like the first scenario that failed.
Yeah.
Like on
And
like
gave you those, yeah.
and like you could
Use those.
those
That'd
as
be
like
interesting.
I'm gonna salvage this in a certain amount of time. That would be dope.
So it's like the city, the guy building, who originally led the city made the dumb decisions. Children have to work. You have a shit ton of children, and you kind of need them because you don't have like you have 500 people, like fucking like 200 of them are kids. And you kind of need them to do stuff. So you try to give them the lesser jobs, but then, a kid got hurt at the coal factory. We need to shut down the coal factory for a day. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I need coal.
I'm about to
People
say, you
are
don't.
freezing.
I'm sorry, you don't shut down the coal factory in the middle of Antarctica.
And so
Come on, man.
it's all about managing. Okay, so like the second, I think the third day, the huge temperature drop. In this game, you see how there's like the different colors. There's the red, there's the yellow, the light blue, the dark blue.
Yeah, it looks like you're looking at like a.
Any amount of
temperature map,
time
right?
a person
It is.
spends in that dark blue, even walking through it, it increases the chances of them getting sick. Sick people can still work, but if a sick person is working, they get more sick. And
That
so-
can lead to death.
Exactly. So it's a whole balancing act of like the third day when temperatures dropped, I couldn't let anybody do anything outside that main city of the circle of like around the generator.
Yeah.
I only had people like salvaging those buildings. I only had them because I didn't want them getting sick, because at one point in my first playthrough, I had over 100 sick people. Chat was like, "Hey Nolan, you're finally below 80 sick people." Like, it's like just this one is like just so like stressful.
Slade says you should have the kids move the dead bodies.
Oh yeah, there you go. And the great thing about this game is you can zoom in and you can watch people like carrying the dead bodies to the snow pit.
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff
kind of
like
it's kind
that.
of cool because you spend so much time kind of in that overhead,
Yeah.
like pulled back view. But
can
if you
zoom
get close enough,
pretty
you can see
fucking far
like
in.
the inner workings of
And,
the city.
and
And
it's just one of those things where it's like you like in a normal game of Frostpunk, you have like I think the first scenario is like 40 or 50 days or something.
Yeah.
This is like 10 days.
Ooh.
You don't have much time to research new abilities, to do all this stuff. Like every single thing I can research, I want. Every single law I can pass, I want. But I can't. I have to pick and choose and be very picky. Like I one of the first things I did was like
It's almost like a roguelike.
no, it definitely is. It's like, I enacted watchtowers. I went down the order path because watchtowers will slowly increase hope of the people living around them. Because it gives them like a sense of security. And so that was one of the first things I enacted. So because the hope is so low, I need to just slowly boost it up. But then I'm like, but then I didn't fucking do soup, which means my limited amount of food, I can't stretch out any farther. And I got to the point where like people started starving because I didn't have enough food.
They didn't know how to make
I'm having a
soup.
panic attack just listening.
You have
to
to,
talk about
you have
this
to
game.
research
Sorry.
soup technology.
And that's what I made that mistake when I was casting too. It's not research soup; it's a law you enact that says, "Hey,
Make soup.
only make soup."
It's a law that says make soup.
Yes.
The soup laws.
And so, here's another scenario that happens, and it happened early on. Oh, the voice within the ruins. One of the collapsed building had fucking like a kid stuck in it. But the problem was I couldn't start excavating it because it was outside of an area that was heated. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I can set up a fucking steam hub near it. But then I'm using like 9 extra coal an hour, which is a lot of coal to use an hour.
Sounds like it.
It got to one point when I was the first time I played it, when I was getting close to the end, where one of the random buildings I excavated, I found a bunch of like the centers in there, the people who were with the old guy, and I had the choice of either
Beheading them in the town square?
letting them stay, or banishing them. And I was like, you know what, fuck them, get them out of here. And hope actually went up when I did that.
Where do people go when you banish them? Just
that
sounds like a death sentence.
Pretty
They go
much.
to- yeah, it
Pretty
is.
much. But the thing that sucked was I found a weather station, and it's like it had 20 engineers at it. And like you had to run a hospital, like an infirmary or a medical post or a workshop, you have to have engineers. And engineers, I didn't have that many of them. And you know what? When an engineer is sick, when he's like in treatment, he can't work. And so I was like, you know what? I'll take these weather post guys and I'll send them back to my base. And so I'll have 20 more engineers. But then your fucking weather meter that lets you know when weather is coming, it's gone. You can't see when the weather is going to go down or up, or like, dude, this one is so intense.
This game seems like the physical embodiment of like that feeling you get when you're like on the ropes in a game and like it's just the screen's like flashing red at you. It's
Yeah,
like that's just
pretty
like this
much.
game in a nutshell.
And this is one of those games where, like, honestly, since this footage has started, probably like maybe 12 hours have passed in the game, just because I'm constantly pausing and trying to decide, all right, what do I want to do here? How do I do this? What's the best way to? And I just feel like, oh, it must be like, because I'll know that like, oh, I'm in a really cold temperature right now. I know that in 2 days the temperature is going to rise. I'll do a bunch of stuff and I'll play a bunch. I'm like, oh, the temperature must be coming up soon, huh? Nope, it's been like half a day. Like, oh my god, like it's just like, ugh,
Well,
so intense.
you seem to be really into Frostpunk
Dude,
this
I
year.
fucking love it. It's great. Like,
Is this expansion just like one scenario that you?
Yeah, just
Okay.
one. It's free too.
that's
It's
good.
a free expansion.
Cool.
Yeah, no, this game's fucking great. man.
I'm terrified about getting back into this.
Why,
game.
Brad?
Because this stuff stresses me out, man.
But it's like a good stress.
no, there's no good stress.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm enjoying it. I honestly do think where I'm at now, that I've started this campaign 3 times, I do feel like I'm in a good place now to make a good. I actually might need to reload a save a few days earlier.
Yeah.
Because I ran out of.
Ran out of ice.
Yeah, exactly.
There's an abundance of
one
that.
of the things this game does it will have random events that happen that the town people are upset about this XYZ. And one of the ones in this one was they're like, "Hey, we don't have enough food," and you can have the promise of, "Oh, I'll feed everybody," or for a little more hope, I'll feed everybody and have a supply of this much extra food. And when I got to that point where the deadline ended, everyone was fed, but I was like, 100 food shy of what I told him I was going to be at, and so fucking Hope just tanks.
Where's all the
You gotta
soup?
you gotta deliver on your promises
It's tough.
of soup.
It's so tough. And like one of what's one of the first things you put into law, Brad, when you play Frostpunk?
Soup.
Child labor.
No, the other one.
Child labor.
Child soup.
Expanded shifts. Make people work more hours in the day. I can't. I don't. There are too many other laws I need to put in place.
Like the soup laws.
Exactly.
But you need that one. You need the one above it. What is
The one is the 24-hour shifts is one of them, but then
Yeah.
the one above that is
Yeah.
you just make the workday like 4 hours longer.
Yeah.
I feel like all your problems in this game could probably be solved if there's just enough soup.
Probably that would actually go a long way.
Like really warm soup.
Yeah. But that's the fall of Winterhome. I'm really enjoying it. Hopefully I finish it. Like I said, the other day when I was casting, I was like, oh, I'll just wrap that up real quick. Nope. I played it for the entire 4 hours of my stream and didn't even complete it.
Hey man, when you like a game, you get into it. It's all good.
Highly recommended.
Recommend Frostpunk: The Fall of Winterhome. Okay, that pretty much does it for impressions this week. We do have a fair bit of news. I'm gonna let Chris Davis over here just hit us with a news topic, and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna freestyle it here. Come on, big one. Sony announced the PlayStation Mini.
I
Guys,
said it was a big one.
yeah, I set you up for that one, Nolan. God damn it,
I have a PlayStation Mini right here, Nick.
Damn.
guys! Can someone please?
You know
okay.
what? This has more than 20 games on it.
I know.
This one has like hundreds of games on it.
Shit.
So, can someone please explain this to me?
What's up, Nick?
I don't get. This is me being an old fuddy-duddy again. I don't get the fascination, the sudden trend with re-releasing
You know what it is,
mini
Nick?
versions of these consoles.
You know what it is?
I don't get it.
It's nostalgia.
Millions of people don't have this. They maybe did at one point, but they don't anymore. They probably don't know about
There's people in
emulators.
this room that like bought the
know.
Super NES.
People that don't know
SNES
about
one.
emulators or really know how they work, or maybe they don't have a PlayStation anymore. They got kids.
Also,
they don't have time to play
Connecting
games.
that to a modern TV is not easy.
Exactly. So when they say, hey, this is a thing from your childhood, I hope you remember it. Now we're giving you the ability to just plug it into your TV.
See, I feel like-
and play some of your favorite games that you like missed from back when you were a kid.
I feel like that's the best argument I've heard so far.
well, it's
as to why
it's ease of use.
Okay.
It's all it really
See,
is.
the accessibility makes more sense now.
Yeah.
I was just genuinely like, why are people so into these things? So, what is the deal with the PlayStation Mini? Who here is like,
Okay, I know a lot about this.
please go.
I will say, I think like maybe that first NES one was the best deal.
Probably. Yeah.
It was $60. It was 30 games.
But this isn't like pop your PlayStation 1 disc.
No,
and
no,
just
no, no.
play
no.
it.
This is 20 games. It's $99, and it's like there's a good chance that all of the games that are on this thing are going to be already available on PlayStation Network.
yeah.
And
I
it
feel
doesn't
like-
come with an AC adapter.
Well, I mean, none of them do, but you could just plug it into your PS4 and it powers it.
Still.
Or your TV even. The problem is the $99 price tag. You can buy a PS3 for $99, and you can get all the PS1 games you want off PlayStation Network.
And you can play
Well, yeah,
PS1
then-
discs.
Well, the thing
on
is,
it.
then you gotta
And
pay
you can
for
play
the
all
games.
PS1 discs, and you can play all PS3 games.
This is the equivalent of buying each of those games for what, $5?
Yeah, but who's actually going to want to buy all 20 of
But
those games?
that's what I was going to say. Is
They're
unfortunately,
already all $6.
unfortunately,
maybe
you can't
10.
pick and choose. So it's just these are the 20
Have they released
games.
the full list yet?
No,
So
they've released what 7 or 8 of them, something like that.
What's good? What's
Final Fantasy 7.
no, they announced
they did the whole
5
list.
games.
No, 5 games. Yeah,
only 5 games. Like Tekken 3,
Meh.
Ridge Racer Type 4.
Meh.
No, I mean those are good. They're
know.
good games.
I'm not saying they're bad, but I have no
Jumping
interest.
Flash. But like it's all big. I mean, it's probably going to be all the stuff that's already on PSN because they
Of
have
course it is.
the licenses. And
Well, they have the
and
licenses,
contracts.
and they already have like a version that easily runs fucking essentially an emulator.
And so here's
Is
the
no
reason
one
I'm
can
not
stop
so
Mr. Domino.
the reason I'm not
I
so
don't
high
think
on
so.
this one is not just the price, but if you look at the games, if you look at the trailer, the footage is just, it's not like upscaled. They're not really doing anything with it. It just looks like it would if you had downloaded the game off PSN. At least that's what I gathered from it. With like the SNES Mini and stuff, like they were like upscaling those games to look really nice on an HD television. I'm not entirely sure that this does that.
So Deputy Dangle in chat posted the full list they've released so far: Final Fantasy VII, Tekken 3, Jumping Flash, Wild Arms, Ridge Racer Type 4.
That's
all. Honestly, only one of those games I would actually spend any time with, and I already own that in 3
Wild
different
Arms
forms,
is like a classic JRPG, right?
Yeah, it is. It was also published by, that's a Sony IP. So, it's not surprising that that's on there.
That's probably the most interesting thing to me out of that list so far, just because I've never
played
it.
But it's also on PSN, along with the second game.
I agree with Brad that it's one of those scenarios where it is fairly expensive for what it is, and the list of games. I don't know. Maybe the other fucking 15 games are going to be amazing. But why would they not lead with those?
They need to do something. They need to do something that makes it somewhat special as far as like a lineup of games. The Super Nintendo Mini had Star Fox 2, which was really cool because that had never gotten a release. If this only has stuff that's on PSN, at least put something on there that hasn't been available anywhere, like unique. Like Lunar, like Valkyrie Profile.
Dude, that's a different story then. If they had some of those,
so stuff that's not on PSN, but stuff that is still like a standout game from that generation, then maybe. But it's too much. You just get a PS3, man. Play the handful of games you actually want to play. You're probably only going to play for half an hour anyways. And you can still play,
Yeah,
Metal Gear Solid
to be fair,
4
I don't think any of us in this
Yakuza
room are
5.
necessarily the target market for this. That's probably why
No, we are the target market. Like, I got this Nintendo Mini. In fact, Dantes on chat was kind of giving me shit about talking shit about this. He's like, well, you fucking pre-ordered and got a Super Nintendo Mini right away. But, for me personally, one, that was cheaper. Two, like dealing with the Wii Virtual Console, which is where most of the Nintendo stuff is a real pain in the ass. Like you have to have a sensor bar, you have to have a Wiimote just to boot it into that. You can't even buy that stuff anymore, and it was still
Brad has
standard
a valid
def.
point in that PlayStation 1 and 2 games digitally are a lot easier legally as well than old Nintendo games. Old Nintendo games, you have to fucking have one of the consoles you can play them on, like a Wii or a Wii U, and then those aren't even fucking like supported anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Whereas like the PlayStation 4, or sorry, the PlayStation 3, I have like a huge collection of PS1 classic games I can just like quickly boot up.
Exactly,
and play.
And I have a huge library of PS1 games, all of which play on the PS3, and my Super Nintendo collection isn't that impressive, so that's why it was more desirable for me. So even $80 was pushing it a little bit. This is not $100.
But so Zero Skies, to your comment in chat, emulation exists, yes, but the problem is that's not what this is for. That's not who it's geared toward. Like Brad was saying, this is a usability thing, an accessibility thing. But it would still be nicer if it was either A, cheaper, or B, had maybe, like Brad was saying, maybe a unique game you can't even get on.
This isn't going to use demo or not memory cards, is it?
I don't
think
so. I think it's all built in.
Yeah, it's all built in.
I bet say that'd be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But anyways,
it is adorable though.
No, yeah,
small,
it looks cool. Yeah.
PlayStations, but like Nolan, showed you, there already was a small PlayStation. It ain't that much smaller than that, really.
Yeah. But that might not be the easiest to find these days, and that's probably the point where when you do find one, it's probably going to be comparable in price. But anyways, we need to move on from this one.
Actually, PlayStations are like, as far as like retro consoles, that's one of the cheapest you can get.
Yeah. Chris Davis hit us with another news topic.
So this one's interesting.
Sega Genesis Mini has been
This
delayed.
might sound like a whatever news topic, but like this Sega Genesis Mini was coming out and it was going to be like a train wreck.
Yeah.
Like all the people who really like can follow this stuff, who like say, well, the emulation on this is like kind of shoddy or whatever. Those people were saying that this thing's going to be a train wreck. The company that was handling it is like no good. Mm-hmm. And they were just trying to cash in on the success of, the NES and the SNES Mini. Right, mm-hmm. And now in the wake of like announcing the PlayStation, I'm wondering if they've come out and announced that, hey, we're delaying this thing. A completely different company, like a Japanese company, is going to be handling it. Hopefully, it's it's so there's been companies that Sega's worked with as far as like remastering games and remaking games in the past that does a really good job. If it's the company that I think it is, then I think this thing could be really impressive. And this is exciting for me because you know, like the Sega Genesis is you know, my brother had one, but I never had one personally, and there's a lot of those games that I think would be, you know, cool to play in that form, provided it's not so expensive. Mm-hmm. But also, Sega Genesis doesn't have S-video cable, so it doesn't really work with my setup. The thing about the Sega Genesis Mini is there's been a lot of like Genesis compilations, like game compilations. Yeah. I actually have a few of them. But it's nice to see that Sega is trying to do it right. And you know, a tiny little Genesis would look pretty cool.
Yeah.
Play some of that Vector Man.
I never had a Genesis. Maybe I'll keep my eye on this one.
Maybe some Earthworm Jim.
Perhaps.
Shit.
What else in the news?
Man, here's another one, Chris Davis. Okay, this is a big one. This is the sad one. Capcom has officially closed their Vancouver studio, which was the studio responsible for the Dead Rising series. They also canceled their current project, which I'm pretty sure was all but 100% confirmed that it was like Dead Rising 5. Mm-hmm. And Capcom is expecting a huge loss from this. I think I remember seeing a number like $40 million loss in this. But on their part, it's a strategic decision. They're talking about refocusing their games, or refocusing on things like, you know, they've had a really successful past couple of years in terms, like, because of things like Monster Hunter World being probably the biggest one. Resident Evil 7 was pretty successful for them as well, and it sounds like they're talking about like refocusing on like those kinds of experiences.
They need
to
focus on putting more Mega Man items in all of their other games,
which they are doing.
Which is funny because they did a lot of that in Dead Rising, which is gone now.
Are you alluding to the Devil May Cry thing?
No, I mean I'm alluding to everything they put out as a Mega Man.
Yeah, because
Mega Buster.
That's also in the news. They announced the Mega Buster is going to be in. I
saw the picture of him with the Mega Buster doing the Mega Man jump.
The thing is, I could totally have seen this studio have been working on like a Dino Crisis or Onimusha like reboot, and now we'll never know if that's what was canceled.
I mean,
this is an in-house studio. They would have been perfect for that.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, First of all, I don't think it was Onimusha, because they're just now releasing that Onimusha Warlord, the first one. They're releasing it in January, and I don't think that game was developed in Japan. And I think if they're getting serious about maybe bringing that studio back, they're probably keeping it in Japan. In fact, part of the fallout from this studio closure was they were talking about refocusing their development in Japan. Like, they're basically like shuttering some of their Western studios, international studios.
Which is horseshit, because all Capcom has been doing lately is fucking remasters and ports, and I mean that's been most of their business over the past few years, with some notable exceptions, obviously. Monster Hunter and
but like,
you know, they're doing good stuff, but like this was at least a studio that was making new things and not.
Well, I mean, but like they're doing Dead Rising over and over again, right?
Yeah, but I
haven't been excited. I mean, that's just me personally. I don't obviously speak for the masses, but like, you know, Dead Rising to me hasn't really been interesting since the second one.
I wouldn't argue with you on that.
Which they did, but, you know.
Yeah, but, I mean, the point is they were probably working on something that wasn't Dead Rising.
Probably. Who knows? But
there's also... Any studio has...
But who's to say that, you know, projects can be canceled and projects can be shifted to other studios? You never know. Like, some of those things could live on.
Well, we'll see what happens.
We'll definitely see what happens. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this as time goes on.
Maybe we'll hear nothing. But
yeah. And also, of course, it goes without saying, but, you know, a lot of people, I think like 140 people lost their job as a result of this closure. That sucks. It really sucks. And, of course, we hope those people land on their feet. I'm sure they will find new places. New. Vancouver is a huge game development community, so I'm sure they'll land on their feet. But still sad news. What else do we have? Chris Davis? Brad, I'll let you lead this one, right?
Oh, this is kind of exciting. I don't really know what it is, but Korean Ratings Board listed what was it?
It was called Castlevania Shadows or something.
Requiem of Shadows or some shit like that.
It was Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood.
Which just sounds like
Requiem, Symphony of the Night, and Rondo of Blood.
Which just sounds like Castlevania X Chronicles.
Yeah. That's
Well,
what that
Dracula
was.
X Chronicles.
Dracula X Chronicles.
Yeah, but see, since it's called Rondo of Blood, I don't think it's going to be that remake that they did on PSP. It sounds like this is going to be some version of the original game, which is nice because, ever since the Wii Virtual Console shut down, there's no real place to get Rondo of Blood anymore, at least not legally. I mean, there's that version that you can unlock in Dracula X Chronicles, but those emulation, I don't want to call them Nazis, but those people who are very strict about emulation had some issues with that version of Rondo of Blood, apparently. So it'd be nice if there's like a cool, definitive, legal version of Rondo of Blood out there for the PS4, and maybe this stuff can end up on the Switch too. I mean, the Symphony of the Night, it was also on Sega Saturn. It eventually came to Xbox Live Arcade. Like, there is no thing that says it has to be only on like PS4 or whatever, so that would be cool to also get these on Switch, which I wouldn't be surprised if they
I've
were.
only
Just
ever
the
played
leak was the PS4
Symphony
version.
of the Night on PSP.
Well.
That's the only way I've ever played
I've
that.
never played it because
I unlocked it for you on your Vita.
Yeah, true. Also, you can play on XBLA and.
Well, then you got to get this when it comes out, Nick.
Maybe
you
I
absolutely
will,
should.
Crispy.
You absolutely
Maybe
should. I
will.
mean, you have what is often considered to be not only the definitive Metroidvania, Metroid style Castlevania, but Rondo of Blood is often considered to be the best of the classic Castlevanias as well, and they're connected in terms of story, both together. It's just, they're two of the dopest games.
This would be fucking.
I'm excited. It's cool.
This would be a treat.
I want to know what this is. I wonder if they're going to do anything special with it or who's handling it.
I'm sure we'll find out more soon.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any more news? Or is that at the end of it? All right. Sweet. We made it through the news this week. Nolan,
What up, Nick?
are you ready to read off some questions?
I'm ready.
I know we have some weird ones this week.
Do we?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Yeah, I know. All right. So every week we post a thread on patreon.com/4player where anyone who donates at least $1 or more, that's it, can ask us any question they want.
For as little as $1 per month, you can ask us questions like this.
The Metal Button asks, with Donald Trump's penis reportedly looking like Toad, which video game character does your ding-dong look like? Also, if applicable, if you've ever seen them, what character does your fellow 4Player podcast Couch Buddies wiener look like?
I got an answer.
Of course
I got
you do,
an answer.
Brad.
But first, was the red spots part of it?
Yeah.
Is that what they did they clarify? Did
Yeah,
she
I
clarify?
think so.
The red
Did she
spots?
clarify? Oh my god.
Gross. Okay,
Gamer Beck in chat has a good answer.
for me, it's Nobi Boy.
Okay, that's not what you said in chat earlier, but that's a pretty good one too.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I said in chat.
In chat, you said Glover.
Yeah, because I have 5 dicks.
Nobi
Yeah,
boy.
Nobi Boy, yeah. Stretch all the way to the sun. Or it's going the other direction, all the way to Pluto.
I thought it was going to Uranus.
Neptune. Not Uranus. And it's hungry as fuck, trying to reach a girl.
There we go. I liked GamerBet's answer in chat. Diglett.
I think mine looks like Nathan Drake.
Oh my god.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go
That's a tough one.
with Bayonetta. Because all the hair.
Ooh.
And it's a very feminine penis.
But it's hot. You know what I mean?
It has guns on its feet.
Like the balls are guns or something.
Oh god.
The balls are grenades.
Oh
maybe?
no, Wonder Red.
Wonder Red.
Oh no, this could go on forever. God, there's probably so many good answers too.
I don't know. That's tough. I don't know. Maybe it's
Zangief.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to think of, like something humanoid or something like the sunflower from Plants vs Zombies. It's just like smiling and dancing.
Or like a chain chomp from Mario.
Yeah, chain chomp. I was thinking of like Birdo, but then like what the through its mouth nose hole.
How many classic video game characters can we ruin in one question?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Maybe like E.T. from the Atari game.
Oh wait, what? It's like 2 pixels.
I mean, I guess that's Carlos.
Yeah, it's Carlos. Oh my god. We're gonna bring back the Carlos micro penis joke again this week.
Jehudi.
Dongo.
Can suck. Wait, what? Bongo can suck my dongo.
Maybe like a Gorgon.
Remember
Goron?
Remember Gex?
Gex. Oh god. It kind of looks like Earthworm Jim. All right.
Uncircumcised.
Oh no!
All right, let's move on. Next question this week from Fuzzy Turd. Being 19 years old, I grew up playing 3D games and almost exclusively have played games with real-time combat, the exception being Pokemon. I know you guys, Brad especially, have a love for older style of games such as JRPGs. I've never been able to play them because of things like turn-based combat, because I can't stand the fact that you almost always take damage in a fight. For instance, I have Suikoden 2, and just can't play it because of random enemy encounters and turn-based combat. It drives me nuts. I'd love to be able to appreciate older games, so I'm asking for any good, quote, entry-level JRPGs or other, quote, classic games.
Without turn-based combat?
Don't say Pokemon, please, even though it could be considered entry-level.
Yeah, we won't say Pokemon, but I would say
JRPGs.
if he's specifically asking for recommendations for classic RPGs, like prior to like more, because my first instinct was to say something like Final Fantasy 12 because you can kind of avoid combat when you don't want to get in combat in that game.
So the only problem with that,
I wouldn't call that like
the only problem with that though is if, especially in older JRPGs, if you're not going into combat, you're not gaining experiences. So by the time you get to bosses, you'll probably be very underleveled and have a difficult time. Off the top of my head, I can't think of too many older school JRPGs that you can avoid damage in combat.
It also sounds like it's killing him inside that he can't get through a battle without taking damage.
I got a good one. The Grandia series not only has one of the best like fucking battle systems of any like JRPG series period, but if you really master that combat system, you can really manipulate the flow of battle where you're constantly interrupting the enemy to where you actually can get through battles without taking like random cheap damage. And most importantly, Grandia 1 and 2 is getting a remaster, and those are going to be coming to Switch and PC and stuff very soon, so that could be a good one to start with. Also, if you don't really want to go back that far, they're also remastering and re-releasing Tales of Vesperia.
Ooh, yeah,
which it's not super old, but it has like that classic JRPG world and story and characters.
I like Symphony.
But the combat system is like a action based. It's much faster.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you're playing fucking Smash Brothers in the way it controls. I recommend Tales of Vesperia or that Grandia remake if you remaster if you want to go a little bit older. Grandia is sort of turn based, but it's so fast paced.
This is kind of a multifaceted question because it's like, does he want us to recommend classic RPGs that don't have traditional battle systems, or does he want us to recommend which ones have traditional battle systems but have other qualities that kind of overshadow, you know what I mean, like that will make them fun for him.
Yeah, not sure.
It could go either way. It sounds like he's probably played I
think you should
play
play
Final
Fantasy
choices.
8 or Chrono Trigger.
I feel like you're playing it. I mean, don't get me wrong, 8's an amazing game. I love 8, but I feel like the combat system is kind of one of the most frustrating things about that game. Is
only if you're bad.
It's not even about
shit.
Call him. Yeah, it's not even about being
Nick,
good.
Are you okay?
Nick, that game was all about going to school. You need to get
I know.
good.
It's the story and the world and the characters that make that game so great. Like the
Nick,
battles,
do we
the
need
draw
to take
system
you to
is
the
like
burn
really
center?
divisive.
Also, like Super Mario RPG.
Oh yeah, that's a good.
Super Mario RPG, you were taking a lot of damage, but by the time you got to like Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, that series, you actually can avoid most of the damage with all your defensive abilities and stuff.
No, I guess that's those are good because there's a lot of situations, even like some of the Paper Marios, where in combat, if you read the enemy's attacks properly, you can almost completely avoid damage to an extent. Yeah, no, that's a good recommendation. I really like those games, and if you really do want to like kind of get good and like kind of learn a combat system and stuff, those Mario RPGs are a good one to do.
And they're also about to re-release a remastering
Inside
of
Story?
Bowser's Inside Story. So
Definitely
you got
check
upcoming
that out.
games with the Grandia remaster, Tales of Vesperia, Bowser's Inside Story, classic JRPGs that are also current. You know, you can tell your friends about them. Get those, homie.
All right, let's move on. We got a lot of questions this week. Gonzo, what is wrong with you? Gonzo Lude asks, do you guys eat cereal with cold or warm milk?
What?
Dude, fuck both of those.
Wait, what?
I don't eat cereal with milk.
What do you eat it with?
Nothing.
Water?
Dry. Yeah.
I still
All right.
like you're just being lazy.
I'm gonna be honest. I used to do that, and I used to think I was the only person in the world
Warm
that
milk?
did that. No, cold, just without dry. I used to eat it dry.
Oh.
That's just
And then
laziness.
Well,
That's not laziness. I don't like milk.
It's a different food
you
item.
don't
I don't like
milk.
milk.
Don't
Then
eat
use
cereal,
like almond
then.
milk.
I
Or
like cereal, and I don't like milk.
Chocolate
Fuck
milk.
you. How about that?
Why don't
Oh, you just hate milk so much.
You know what I just did for the first time in my
Fruit punch.
life yesterday? I dipped an Oreo in milk.
What?
That's weird.
Why?
You're
First of
weird.
all,
He doesn't even like chocolate.
It's
he
golden
likes
Oreos.
the golden Oreos.
Still weird.
Double stuffed golden Oreos, dipped it in milk. Pretty damn good.
But you understand that cereal without milk is just a different like food item, right?
So?
It's one's
your
a
point?
breakfast item, one's just like a snack. You know.
I eat a bowl of cereal without milk for breakfast.
So Gonzo, the only answer is cold. I actually ate a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch yesterday, and I will say that Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavored milk is like one of the best fucking things in the world.
I'm gonna be honest.
It's just
I
a
don't.
top tier cereal that's good both dry and
That's true.
I like Cinnamon Toast Crunch a lot. I don't think I would ever put milk on it.
Why?
I don't know. It ruins the thing about.
Don't you like milk?
All right.
Yes,
Nick,
I love
as
milk.
soon
I
as
drink it by the gallon.
As soon as this podcast is done,
Everyone
I'm gonna go
drinks milk
downstairs and I'm gonna make a bowl for you,
Oh, he's
and
gonna
you're
make
gonna
me a
eat
bowl
it
of
on
cereal.
the feed.
On this, he's gonna throw up.
All right, we'll see. Stay tuned after the show to see Nick see why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
What even was that question?
Wait, so you're gonna pour? You're gonna give me a small bowl of,
Yeah, just a
and
little
you're
bowl.
gonna put a little bit of milk in it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All
Bring
right,
Did we
it on.
do
answer
it.
the question?
Changed
we
my
did.
life.
All right. And Metal Button asks, cereal crunchy or a little soggy? Crunchy. You gotta
Crunchy.
eat it like
Crunchy,
immediately.
yeah.
You gotta pour the
Crunchy.
milk on and then fucking hurry to eat it real quick before it
Yeah.
gets too
Or-
soggy.
Don't soak it in anything.
You know
Just
what's
eat it
fucking
crunchy.
hard? Eating cereal with a fucking kid.
Yeah,
hard,
I can
man.
imagine. All right, moving on.
Oh my God, Zlade and Chet, honey bunches of oats with almonds is what I eat for breakfast now with milk, and it's delicious.
I do like honey bunches of oats.
See, that's one of those cereals that you can't eat dry. You know,
There's
But
you,
you
can
gotta
only eat
going
like
on.
children's cereal.
But it gets soggy fast, so you got to eat it
You gotta
fast.
go
What the
fuck
fuck
it.
do you know about it?
Well, you ain't eating dry
The
grape nuts,
fuck do
dog.
you know about
All right.
it?
What are
Moving
you
on.
eating dry?
Cheerios?
Plain?
I mean, that's kind of a baby
Honey
food,
nut
right?
Doesn't it
Cheerios
have
or
weed
just
killer
Cheerios?
in it?
Just fucking Cheerios, man.
I think it has weed killer in it.
Apple Jacks are
probably.
Read a
fantastic,
news article.
Apple Jacks are good.
but I
I
don't think
like
I'd ever.
honey. What
Frosted
Chex?
Flakes.
Like honey check. What are they called? Honey check.
Chex Mix?
Chex is a cereal.
Yeah, Chex. Not Chex Mix.
Just
It's like the
Chex.
Chex. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like has like honey on it or something. I do
Oh,
like that.
I used to eat Chex with milk. Those were great.
Take your fucking milk and
All
you
right.
shove it up your ass.
Moving on. Next question.
Some people do that, Crispy.
Future Carnage. Congratulations. You're now the glorious leader of a cult.
Yay.
Who or what does your people worship?
Moo cows and their milk.
Donald Trump's penis. It looks like
So
Toad.
Toad? You worship Toad?
Yeah.
Captain Toad?
Donald Trump's penis has a little like vest on it and some baggy pants.
Butts. I would worship butts.
Yeah,
you
well,
would.
my cult is directly opposed to your cult because we worship Bruce Wayne's penis.
Ooh. Is it all pixely?
And it's like shadowy.
Can we talk about Batman's
Like
penis?
every
Than
part
I
of
thought
Bruce
it would
Wayne.
be.
Can we talk about Batman's penis for a while? Was he in
Hold
costume?
on, hold
No,
on.
that's the whole point. He wasn't wearing his costume. He was naked.
Okay. That. With-
We're answering this question, man. Come
I'm
on.
sorry. What was the question? Oh, the
If we're a
cult.
cult leader, what do we worship?
What do you worship? I feel like this is. Come
Come
on, Brad. Hit us up with a weird answer.
A weird answer?
Yeah. Like hit us like one of those like unexpected Brad answers. Like I would convince
Classic spicy
I would,
Brad.
I would convince my young self to murder someone like last week.
I don't know. Maybe like Shania Twain.
Worship Shania Twain.
Yeah.
That's an interesting choice. I didn't consider
me,
worshiping like a
right?
specific person.
Worship me.
Why not?
Why not? I mean, if I'm gonna have a cult, I want it to worship me.
That's a little no.
That's the obvious one, right?
Not really. I mean, they're a little
I'm
full
disappointed.
of yourself
I'm disappointed
over
in you, Brad.
there.
I mean,
See, now I'm trying to think of who specifically I would worship, and that's just too hard of a decision.
I mean, you could worship like I don't know.
I'm gonna stick with butts.
Maybe like a nice thigh.
Thighs are good, but I'll think my cult is a cult of butt worshippers.
Bet it stinks.
The butt that pooped out the universe.
it's so.
All right.
I feel like this room used to play music, and all of a sudden the music is not playing.
What?
You think they just got
Quiet?
Oh, the air conditioner's
Yeah,
on.
AC,
okay.
is not currently on.
Some seems super quiet.
That is something. Quick aside: why don't more bathrooms have like music in them?
Great silence.
It's always awkward when like I'm in a bathroom and then like someone's just like dropping a big deuce, and it's
should always
just
play
I hear
music.
like guy go. And like, why? Just something subtle, just something to break the silence, so it's not complete silence. And all of a sudden, plunk. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Come on, no.
Just like a little bit. Just like a little something. All right, moving on. Next question from Zero Skies. If you were a Yakuza, what would you choose to place as your back tattoo design?
I would get a tattoo on my back of Ben Affleck with his giant back tattoo on his back.
Oh my god, yeah. What is with this tattoo?
What?
You've
Yeah,
never
you
seen
never
this?
seen Ben Affleck's
Oh my
back
God.
tattoo?
I've never
Dude,
seen it.
Ben Affleck
Oh my
has a
God.
huge tattoo of like a phoenix across his entire back, and it looks
Wow.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
yeah,
might
it would
have
definitely
some,
have to be like a
issues.
really elaborate Japanese-style dick butt.
It, yeah, that makes sense.
like-
You would worship dick butt. Your cult
I know
would
what I
worship
have.
dick butt.
Spyro the Dragon, like a really fierce-looking Spyro.
Would it be fucking a car or something?
Yeah.
Like
Way to
licking
take
the
it back,
tailpipe.
Nolan.
like a raccoon, maybe.
Ooh, okay.
Just a big raccoon. You know, because it's like the bandit, the thief animal.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Next question from Alfian. If you were to create a human centipede with 3 members from the group...
I'm already vetoing this question.
Okay.
I'll be the front. I don't know. I'm vetoing.
Oh my god.
I'm the front.
Wait, no, actually.
Alfian does specify, of course, Brad goes in the middle because he's big and strong.
What? What does that mean? Why does the middle need to be big and strong? What does that mean? I'm the front, damn it.
Oh, I guess
Move
you're the
on,
middle.
next question.
I mean, you are in the middle of the two of us, so I mean...
What do they call that?
What?
No, you never
All right,
mind.
moving on. Next question from Mr. Green Toast. Which game do you stick with the starting weapon or gadget, despite how many different types of developers the developers throw in later on?
Bloodborne.
Dead
And
Space.
it's either for fun or effective use. For example,
Bloodborne.
I was recently playing Red Faction Guerrilla the other day when I slowly realized I always relied on starting sledgehammer and C4 charges due to the power control of feeling each swing topple a structure down.
But I feel like that game has so many great weapons. Like,
agree.
how do you resist the urge to play with them?
But he's right. I mean, the charges are the best thing because they're like more or less infinite, and the hammers is the hammer. But yeah, Dead Space. I feel like like the first 2 weapons you get, like the fucking what is it called? The
Plasma cutter?
plasma cutter and the line cutter or whatever it's called.
The line rifle or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I use those the whole game.
Yeah.
Bloodborne.
Yeah.
I
You
used
have
that
to make
fucking
choices
whip
as
cane
far as
the whole game.
Yeah,
That was my
I
bag.
did the same thing.
You did not finish the game with that weapon.
Yes, I did.
I did.
Yes, I fucking did.
I don't believe y'all.
I fucking did,
Absolutely.
Brad. That weapon
Did
is
y'all
my
not try?
favorite.
There's other dope weapons in that game. Did
There
y'all not
were.
track them down?
I mean, I feel like there's usually dope ass weapons.
There
in
was a
these
cool.
games.
There was a cool one that I.
What's
it
the
was like,
the Ludwig sword?
There
that
was one that was like kind of a club or like an axe shaped weapon, but then it also turned into a whip. So I tried that one for a while. But that whip cane, man.
I feel like
fucking tits.
Devil May Cry has done this a few times where I end up finding a weapon pretty early on and then sticking with it. But I'm trying to remember specifically what it was.
At least that I can remember. I don't think I have any like loyalties to specific weapons. Generally, I just fucking care about numbers, and if something's better or more easier to use, then I fucking whatever. Throw that shit
If I
to the
find a
side.
weapon in a game that feels fucking good,
Yeah.
like just feels good to shoot or use, then I usually stick with it for quite a while. One thing I will say, not to go back to Tomb Raider, but like one thing I noticed is, you feel like the shotgun in that game does not feel good?
No, none of the shooting feels good.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Good thing there's not a lot of it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Pistol feels okay, or at least the one I got. But,
I don't know.
shotgun feels bad.
Moving on. Final question for this evening from Shadow Step. What's the best / worst practical joke that you've played on someone or that was played on you?
Man, I was the victim of many a practical joke when I was living with roommates in college. The worst one being when my roommates, Chris Pena and my other roommate Chad, wrote up a really convincing eviction letter and put it on the door, and I thought I was being evicted for about an hour before they finally caved and told me that they made it up. Like they printed up the eviction letter, like they wrote it out on the computer, put it in this like nice like thick parchment paper, and like actually photoshopped the logo from like my apartment complex as like actual notifications and like put it on the thing so it looked fucking official as hell. Even had the signature of like the property manager and everything on it. Whew, man, I having a panic attack for a long time. Also, they flipped my room when I went to work one day, and I came back and my whole room was flipped around, and they probably printed out like 50 copies of Tub Girl and hung that all over my room. I was finding pictures of Tub Girl in my room for months and months and months.
Yeah, we did stuff like that in college where you because a lot of people don't know how to change it, but I don't even know which version of Windows it was, XP. When the startup screen, like before you even get to Windows, there's a way you could change that, but you have to know how to like go into the settings and really like fuck with that stuff to change it, and then change it to like, you know, some fucked up stuff, and you know, have them get really mad because they can't figure out how to switch it back. We're doing some stuff like that, but man, that's when you really have to think about memories and shit.
It's hard to look back on. I mean, one of the ones that sticks to my mind was I would often, when I worked at Game Crazy, the way the store was set up was like the counter was like an L shape, and then in the middle we had 2 kiosks with 3 TVs on each of them, with 3 game consoles. You know, so we had a pretty wide array of stuff, and I would always have one of the game consoles facing the counter. I would have it plug in a wireless controller back when that was a thing, and I would play from behind the counter, and kids would come up all the time and think they're playing the game, but it was like me. And I just remember I have one vivid memory of it was Dragon Ball Budokai 2, and I was playing it, and like the kid came up and was like playing it, and some other kid comes up and he's like, "Wow, you're really good," and he's like, "Yeah, I know," and then I just like paused it, and he was like, "I'm done now," and he set it down and walked away.
Nice.
It was pretty funny.
Same roommates in college. Chris Pena had a mountain bike that he was
know this one, yeah.
and he was like, one day I lived in a 2-story apartment, and my bedroom was on the 2nd floor. We were all hanging out downstairs in the back patio or whatever, and he was just like, "Guys, I don't know where the fuck my bike." Like we had a party the night before, and he's like, "I don't know where my bike is. I think someone stole my bike," and we're like, "I don't know." And he was just like kind of distraught about it because it was a really expensive, nice bike, and then like he couldn't find it, so we talked for a while, and then I was like, "Well, I'm going to bed." And it was like midnight, and I went upstairs, went into my bedroom, went to go take a shower, opened the shower curtain, and his mountain bike is in my shower, and there's mud everywhere. And to the day I moved out, there was like tire tracks on the bottom of my shower, which probably really confused I couldn't get them out no matter how hard I tried. So that was probably really confusing.
What's up, Chris?
I got one. Okay, so in high school, I was in band, and the marching band in high school was just like, it was this really toxic group of people who were just like trying to one up each other constantly. Like it was rough. And there was this one kid who, like, I don't even remember what the circumstances were, but somebody did something to somebody else, and it was like kind of fucked up, or like got them in detention or something like that. And it was a Friday night. we went to competitions on Saturday morning, and a bunch of us were hanging out at this one dude's house, and we were like talking about it, and we were like, I got it. So and so lives right over here,
Let's
and it was
murder him.
near a golf course in town, right? So we drove around for like an hour around the golf course, taking all the flags out of the holes, and we loaded them into my car, and then we drove up to this chick's house, and we put them all in the front yard, like it looked like a circus. And then like the next morning, we're all like waiting there, getting ready to go, and like this was a really early competition. It's like we had to leave by like 7, and like they were all really adamant about making sure everyone got there on time. And we get there, and like she doesn't show up. And like everyone's waiting, like they stopped, like we didn't go anywhere because we were waiting for her to show up. And it was like an hour later she showed up, and she's like, "Yeah, I was at my house all morning because the cops were there questioning us because we had all the fucking golf courses flags on our front lawn." So that was kind of fucked up, but it happened.
Can't take it back.
You're past the statute of limitations.
Yeah, so there it is. I mean, yeah, we used to just be real shitty.
I used to toilet paper houses a lot. I
Yeah, we
feel like
used
we're
to-
crossing beyond practical joke into just being like
Vandalism.
shitheads.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
vandalism. We would just like go around. This neighborhood had a lot of construction, so we'd go around and like tip over all the porta
Porta potties, yeah.
Oh, that's mean.
Yeah. It
Oh
was
man,
rough. It
I
was
have
high school,
stories
man.
I could tell that I'm not going.
Brad's been quiet.
I'm just trying to think of stuff. I don't know. I've had a long life. All that stuff was a long time ago.
I don't know. I can't think of anything else that's too crazy. Trying to think of stuff at like any of like the jobs I used to have that were kind of like, I don't want to say shittier jobs, but I mean kind of. I'm trying to think of like things I used to do, but
Well, we've spent a lot of time on this question. We can move on. Thank you.
yeah. So
For the
thanks to all
lovely
our patrons for the
questions.
questions. We had some good ones this week. Like I was saying, every week we post a thread. Any patron can ask us anything. they want,
Absolutely.
and we will probably answer.
And like I mentioned last week, working on some updates for our Patreon campaign, which I'm pretty excited about. I was hoping to have them done for this week, but didn't quite get it all done. So next week we'll go into more detail about that. But like Nolan said, as little as $1 per month, you can support us, get some extra perks, ask us questions on the show, that kind of thing. Patreon.com/4Player is where you'll find that. But now it is time to wrap up the show with the 4-Player Minute. You know what that means. Hype, sweat, thank you, and fuck you. Brad, usually you start us off. Are you good to go?
Sure. My first hype. Let's start with the sweat. I got a couple of sweats. One, talked about earlier, I'm a little worried about Eidos Montreal. Who knows what's going to happen going forward, because I'm pretty sure that this new Tomb Raider is not a big success, and neither was their last game. Another sweat, I'm a little worried about Devil May Cry 5, not because I think it's going to be a bad game. I'm sure it's going to be a fine game to play, but I've watched a lot of like cutscenes now, and like the lip sync is like really bad.
The lip sync is bad.
It's really bad. I still think the faces on a lot of characters look really just kind of weird, and I'm worried that like cutscenes are not going to be cool for me.
I thought Dante
like
looked cool.
I'm
in
used
his last
to
trailer.
really like playing Devil May Cry games and finding the cutscenes to be really cool. Like Devil May Cry 3 specifically had the cutscene viewer where you could basically just watch all the cutscenes in the game from the beginning to end, and I would watch that just as a story because that stuff was so crazy and wild and over the top and
But
cool.
do you not think that
and I really liked
weird
watching
in
them.
that game?
No.
Dude, Dante looks fucking bizarre in Devil May Cry 3.
I mean, it was just a different era. In this day and age, that shit really stands out, and it looks bad, especially the lip sync. I'm just worried that I'm not gonna find that stuff to be cool anymore, and you know that worries me. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, gameplay wise, it's looking pretty good, I guess. My thank you for this week, I'm going to give it to my wife for letting me do a certain Halloween costume, especially for Henry. I'm not going to spoil what it is, but it's going to be pretty cool, I think. I need to order all the pieces, though. We're not going to be doing Wreck-It Ralph. Not this year. We found something that looks pretty dope. So thank you for her for letting us do it, because I know she's less excited about it, but, you know, she doesn't even care about Halloween anyways. My fuck you goes to Carlos.
Of course.
Because this game called Distance finally came out of early access. It's made by the guys that made Nitronic Rush, which is a very similar type of game to that. But he's been playing it the past couple of days, and he's been like, "Oh, this game sucks. This game sucks. It's nothing like that other game." And I was all excited to play it tomorrow on the stream, and I can't get a straight answer out of him. Like, how much has he played? Did he finish it? Why is he saying it sucks? Because he's fucking Carlos.
Wait, you can't get a straight answer out of Carlos?
No, yeah, it's surprising. It's weird. Usually he's just so, straight to the point.
He said something in Discord today, and I almost deleted it with my admin powers.
I deleted stuff
with my
sometimes.
magic admin powers.
I almost deleted it.
Yeah. And my final hype, I'm just going to reiterate, it's Grandia, the remaster. I'm very excited about that. They're using, there's stuff online of all the tweaks that they're going to be doing. I'm hoping that all the visual stuff that they're adding could be disabled if it looks weird. I know there's always the risk of that. But, it's going to have widescreen. They're going to even be using... it's going to have the Japanese voices. The English voices were notoriously terrible. And while there's not a lot of voice acting in Grandia, it really kind of sets up these characters as being kind of annoying. Maybe more annoying than they should actually be. So I'm kind of excited about that. And... I think they're going to be using the Saturn source code as well, so that game version always ran better than the PlayStation version, which was the only one we got here in the West. So all in all, I hope it's a really good remaster. I hope all of you people play. All of you people have been saying you want some classic JRPGs, acting like Octopath Traveler is the fucking greatest. You should try Grandia, because I know a lot of you haven't.
Thanks, Brett. I will say that your voice acting thing made me remember something about Dragon Quest. Is that the voice? They're like everyone's voice, but they're all like British. Yeah. It's like, why do they always gotta be British?
Why they started that with 8?
Yeah, but why can't some of them be British and some be some English and some be Australian? Why does it all have to be all British?
Xenoblade's like that too.
The British
it's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, my 4-player minute starts now. My hype is for Dragon Quest 11. I'm excited that I'm finally putting some decent hours into a Dragon Quest game, and I'm ready to fucking just spend some time in this world. I'm excited that I'm finally getting there. My sweat is for this Frostpunk DLC. It's been stressing me out, and I feel like I'm just constantly I have more saves in this DLC than I had in the entire 3 campaigns I paid before already. It's just so stressful but good at the same time. My other sweat is in this time when there are so many games I need to be playing or I want to be playing. I'm on the cusp of playing some older games. I had a couple of coworkers that know I'm into games, and they've been asking me for recommendations. And then when I recommend a game, they're like, "Oh, tell me about it." And I start talking about this game, like The Witness or XCOM. And I'm explaining all the stuff that makes the game great, and I'm like, God damn, now I want to play it. I want to play XCOM.
I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I've been thinking about this a lot lately too, because I've been making an effort to play stuff in my backlog, but I'm trying to think about maybe mixing in, always have something that I'm kind of playing in the background that I wanted to replay. There's a lot of stuff I want to... I got the BioShock collection. I was I haven't played the original BioShock in so long. I'd love to go back and play that.
Yeah. And then my final hype for today goes to Universal Studios. Burnett and I just booked a trip for early December. By the way, I'm not going to be on the show first Thursday in December.
All right.
I've never been to Universal Studios, so I'm excited to go. If anyone in the community has anything they want to share with me about their trips there or
just
their
make
time,
sure you get the pass that lets you go between Islands of Adventure and
hit me up
Universal.
we have that.
Okay,
dude.
Hit me up in Discord. Let me know all the secrets, all the tips.
While you're there, you need to ride Jaws. Wait, never mind, they took that out. You need to ride Back to the Future. Never mind, wait, they took that out. You need to ride Earthquake. Never mind, that's gone too.
Yeah, shut
I
up.
heard Hanna-Barbera was a good one, but that's closed too.
Yeah, that's Minions now.
The best advice I could give you, Nolan,
Yeah.
is that you're going in December.
Yeah.
Warm butterbeer.
Warm butterbeer. I looked up the weather. It looks like that whole week the high is going to be around 76, low 58.
It doesn't even
like
when I went, it was pretty warm too, but doesn't matter.
I'll probably try both warm and cold.
Yeah, you should try both at some point, but the warm is so good.
What's up, Crispy?
Sneak in a little thing of Fireball or some whiskey and just sweeten up that butterbeer.
Butterbeer going. All right,
yeah.
that's it for me.
Crispy?
All right, my hype this week. Fuck you guys. My hype this week is for Valkyria Chronicles 4.
Hell yes. We'll
My
be talking about that next week.
My sweat this week. Fuck you guys. My sweat this week is Oh, I had it. What was it? What is it? It's I don't know. We'll come back to it. Circle back. My thank you for this week goes to DC Comics for finally showing me what the shadow of Bruce Wayne's penis.
Oh, it was just a shadow?
Well, it's like, I mean, you can definitely
I
see
feel
the
cheated.
You can see where the shaft meets the head. It's like,
Was it as
You
big
can
as
see
you
the-
were hoping?
no, it wasn't. I was like, that's it, really?
You were hoping for the contours?
Maybe it's because he like wears that bat suit all the time. It's kind of like compressed his nethers, and he doesn't like,
So
fuck a lot.
what's real quick? What's the controversy? Like people are upset about it.
Oh, are they?
They didn't see
I just
more?
thought people were making jokes.
He's like,
I don't know. Like,
I'm
so
elated. I don't
DC
know.
made this like new imprint where they're trying to do more like adult themed comics, and the first thing they released was it's called Batman Nightmare, Demon,
Batman
Darkness, Demon, Nightmare. It's got some fucking stupid name like that.
Call Batman fucks Robin.
Yeah, and then like I don't even know what it's about. All I know is that there is a scene in it where he's in the Batcave and he takes his suit off and was like, "Oh, that's his dick. Look at that." Damned. That's what it's called.
They have to make
Shit.
sure that we know that superheroes have penises too.
Yeah, we know. We know that he has a penis. My
But they censored it, right? So
it's not censored. It's
No,
just like
But there's
he's
a
in
version
shadow.
of the comic that has the dick, and then they're doing.
Oh, the online version. You're right. The digital version
I think
online.
the print
they
versions
censored it
as
so
well.
you can't see the
Like
penis.
future print versions, which means you're gonna have this really valuable
This rare
Batman
dick.
comic
If you go out
that is specifically
get it right
valuable
now-
because it has Batman's dick in it.
because it has the fucking Batcock.
Yeah, the Batcock comic is gonna make people rich someday, and that is great.
Dude, it's nuts, man. Who's gonna make a fortune off of Bruce Wayne's penis?
Rolling in that Batcock
My fuck
money.
you for this week goes to all y'all. Fuck all y'all, because I'm playing Fortnite. Fuck you guys. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. And
Is this like
Fuck
a
you.
midlife crisis? Are you trying to recapture your youth?
yeah, that's it. I'm just into whatever the kids are.
You want to
It's okay.
feel like a high
I'm
school
hip.
kid
I'm
again?
cool.
It's
I can do the loser dance.
it's okay, Crispy. I just think less of you. That's all.
Yeah. You build any good forts or?
Fuck you guys, man. That game. Okay, you know what? It is absolutely free to play trash. There are nothing but like fucking whiny children from all over the world just like screeching in your ear most of the time if you're playing in squads.
That sounds
It-
amazing.
it's terrible. But like the stuff that the game's doing in the game is incredible. Like it's kind of fucking nuts. Like it's kind of crazy. Like when you start getting a hang of the whole like running and shooting and then like building a fort and like all the events that they've been doing in the world, like it's
I'm calling it now.
there's something there.
game-
There's something there.
This game's gonna end up in its top 10 list this
Oh,
year.
No,
my
it's still in
God.
beta. It's still in beta.
Is it?
It's still early access.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. All the
I
loading screens
refuse-
still say early access on it.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, Jesus Christ.
Fuck y'all, guys. Fuck y'all. It's pretty good.
All right, thank you, Crispy.
Sick fuck.
My
Is it
four.
your roommates or your roommates playing it?
Yeah.
I think they have too much
No,
of an
Campbell.
influence over
Like
you.
I realized that Campbell is the exact opposite of you. Like you make me play all these stuffy hoity-toity like JRPG. Like, oh, you gotta play these classics. They're fucking great. And then like Campbell's over here being like, yo, play Hearthstone and fucking Fortnite with me.
Diametrically opposed.
And I'm like, yup, I'm there.
Why is that the better option?
And suddenly,
It's not a better option, but it's bringing balance
Some-
to my gaming life.
suddenly Crispy has
No,
turned
your
on us.
balance is off.
No, it's awesome. It's great.
You need to eat your fucking vegetables, Crispy.
I have been.
With
Fuck
some,
you, dude.
with some fucking milk, okay?
Fuck
been
you.
eating ding
I'm gonna
dongs.
buy Valkyria Chronicles 4. Get off my dick.
Okay. Fair enough.
Brad's like, okay, backing off now. All right, can I go now?
Go.
My hype this week, I have two hypes. My first hype this week, though, fucking Kingdom Hearts 3, man. There's something magical about Kingdom Hearts. I don't even give a shit. Fuck you.
There's not.
Fuck
No,
you.
listen, hold on.
Don't even.
It's not. Did you see the cover? The
Yes,
new cover?
I love it.
Yeah. There's Where's all the Disney
Look at it.
characters?
It's my fucking background on my phone.
They're all fucking Organization 13.
I don't
dudes.
give a shit,
But
Brad.
that's the problem.
I don't give a shit. I love everything about Kingdom Hearts. I'm embracing it.
You don't.
I'm embracing it the way Crispy has embraced Fortnite.
You've played like 20% of those
Fuck
games.
you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. I just want more Kingdom Hearts.
This guy.
My other hype, though, goes to fucking...
This guy's trying to embrace his youth with Fortnite, and this guy over here is trying to embrace his Screamo years with the Organization 13.
Embrace my Screamo years. I still listen to what you would probably classify as Screamo music, so fuck off.
When Nick plays Kingdom Hearts 3, he's going to put on some black pants with chains on them and like a leather jacket.
And like a hoodie.
Should.
It's just like my soul is black.
Yeah, I want a custom cover of Kingdom Hearts 3 that has all the Disney characters standing on a fucking building on a sunset or whatever the fuck that is. Because I don't recognize any of those fucking characters except Donald and Goofy.
Also wears shoes like
And Mickey.
And Mickey.
Has there ever
Where's
been...
Baymax?
Has
Why
there-
can't Baymax be on the cover?
Brad, has there ever been a Disney character other than Donald, Mickey, and Goofy on the cover of a Kingdom Hearts game?
They're all
No.
back covers.
No, they don't include...
Where's the Beast?
They don't include characters from the worlds
Give
on
me
the fucking...
Jack Skellington.
No, they don't go on the fucking cover, you chotch.
No, I
They
think this
should.
Christmas thing is not
Fuck
as-
you, fuck you, fuck you. I'm so fucking ready for Kingdom Hearts 3. It also makes me realize I gotta get started on replaying Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 again.
But there's so much that are not from those two games that you need to know about before you play
I'll watch a
this new
YouTube video for that shit. I don't care. My other hype this week goes to Shadow of the Tomb Raider. As much as we talked a lot about our gripes, like I said earlier, but I'm still having a really good time with this game. More than I was really expecting. And I'm looking forward to wrapping the game up this weekend. I know I have about 3 or 4 more tombs to get through. I'm actually kind of enjoying the story as light as it is. It's just kind of fun, like, you know,
Fun
world
is
travel.
not the tone of this game.
I mean, it's not the same as like Uncharted in
it
terms
is
of like
dark
fun.
and serious and human sacrifice.
I know, but I'm what the setting and like the subject matter is resonating with me more in this game than it did in either of the two previous games. I think I just like Mayan temples and crazy shit like that.
Oh, sure.
I'm surprised nobody's fuck you this week was for that fucking... Was for the band that did that Dante's
Suicide Silence?
devil theme or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, fuck that dude. Fuck Infiltration as well.
Yeah, shitty dude. Really shitty song. Oh my god.
Yes, that song is
was
terrible. That band went fucking downhill. Oh god. Fucking don't get me started. Don't get me started. My sweat though goes to the future of Tomb Raider. Brad mentioned the future of Eidos Montreal. I'm more specifically
They did the impossible.
I am more specifically worried right now about the future of Tomb Raider. It was they felt like they were trying to build up to something, and I feel like they finally got to it, but now it's probably going to go dormant. And it's kind of like, so what the hell was the big build up to? If now this is just like you're getting to that point and then stopping, that doesn't make anybody happy. That kind of sucks. I hope that's not the case, but we'll see what happens. And my fuck you of the week, aside from the douchebag that you just mentioned, Crispy, goes to Capcom for adding Lady and Trish to DMC without making them fucking playable.
Well, you know,
It
hey,
drives
there's always
me
DLC.
crazy.
Lady's outfit is so bad. She looks so bad. Trish looks like Trish, though. She
Wait, what
looks
do you
good.
mean? She looks like Lady.
Have you seen the outfit?
Yeah.
It's a disaster. Devil May Cry 3 outfit, iconic. Devil May Cry 4 outfit, it was pretty good. This new one is a train wreck.
All right, I'm gonna have to remind myself, but I think you're full of shit.
A
But
train
whatever. Anyways, that's
I Love Lady, that outfit is a train wreck.
all right. I'm gonna Google image this again because apparently I've forgotten something. Anyways, but yeah, fuck you, Capcom, for putting two characters, the classic lady characters from Devil May Cry, and not making either one of them playable. Like we've gotten, they're talking about this being the last game in the series, and like it's kind of like.
Yeah, there's also some rumors out there that they might die or something too. So like they might not even be in the game all that much.
Just fucking, you've put them in 3 different games at this point. Why have they not been playable in any of them?
They were playable in 4.
In the special edition, if you buy it, like
Sure, but I mean, They have a special mode.
Why can't it just be why can't they just be playable? Like, give them incorporate them into the story, give them things to do, and let you play as them.
Lame, too.
Yeah, V looks kind of lame right now, so fucking... Oh, God. Anyways, you know what? That's our show, guys. Thank you so much for listening once again. This has been 4Player Podcast. You can find us every Thursday night recording these episodes. We talk about video games a lot. So if you like video games, join us next Thursday for another episode. We'll be talking about Valkyria Chronicles 4, among other things, next week. Of course, you can also tune in every single night between now and then if you want to catch us playing games live. And just a quick reminder, too, join us on Discord, support us on Patreon if you can, if you're willing. We'd really appreciate every dollar you send towards us. And also, don't forget to download our spoiler cast for Spider-Man. Crispy and I recorded this week. We had a nice, good, long discussion about Spider-Man, which is also a fantastic fucking game. So, that's it for the show tonight, guys. Thank you for listening.
Goodbye,
We will
Nick.
catch you next week.